We are live. We are live.
Are we live?
We have some people already here in the chat, which I do appreciate, by the way. I'm going to try to keep up. There's about a 1 to 2 minute delay, but welcome everybody to the first live stream of the Fantasy Network. I just heard my stream kick on, and that scared me.
Sorry,
but Ser Ezra, how you doing, my friend? Actually, let me just say, I brought on Ser Ezra today, and that's a wonderful hoodie, by the way. But this whole idea of this live stream was my friend Ezra here is an absolute expert in A Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings, and Wheel of Time. And Ser Ezra is jonesing for a new fantasy series to dive into. And
yes, sir.
There's one thing to say about Ser Ezra. Say that he can get a fantasy series done like that. He read through Wheel of Time multiple times.
Let's go.
Sharp guy, and him and Matt, Sir Matt, who's not here today. Hope to have him on soon for some Wheel of Time talk. Have just had great success in content creation, and they've done a fabulous job of building a community and having some of the best content out there for those fandoms of Wheel of Time and A Song of Ice and Fire. And then your other project, which is Up Talking Tolkien. I consider you to be a pillar in the Tolkien content community. So I'm happy to have you here, obviously. But go ahead. I've kind of already rambled on about you. Why don't you
my head's already pretty big. I didn't need all that, but I appreciate it, man. No, this is cool. I'm telling you, I am a fan of your channel. I love what you're doing. Like, I love the fact that we've talked a little bit about some of these book series, and you hype me up on some of these things to where I'm like, I want to read them all. I want to go through all of them. And I love that because I always have been a guide to say, hey, you got to get into Wheel of Time. You got to get into Lord of the Rings. You got to get into this Star Wars book or, Game of Thrones. And to have somebody else do that for me and say, I know this guy hasn't mentioned this yet. He hasn't heard of this series yet. And then to give me that kind of summary, and I'm going, sign me up. Sign me up. It's so cool. It's so cool because I just feel so like I'm enthused by it. Like, I love to read book series. We'll go over when we get time here. We'll go over some of the series I have read because I've read a lot. But I'm a big kind of I like epic fantasy, and you know that, and you've been suggesting some epic fantasy series for me, so I'm down.
Well, as people pour in here into the live stream, actually, this is probably a good opportunity of talking about what you have read. Obviously, I kind of talked about what you know, but, give us a little more about that and what you've read.
Yeah. So, crazy thing. So it kind of goes back, like in middle school, I read The Hobbit, first book I kind of got into, really liked The Hobbit. And that sort of propelled me into this whole, just wanting to read more. I read The Hobbit, then Lord of the Rings, blown away by Lord of the Rings. As a young man, I said, I was sitting at the Council of Elrond and I said, I'll take it.
Let's go.
I'll take the ring to Mount Doom. Sign me up. Let's go. I mean, so I got hyped for that, and I was like, it is go time. And I loved it. I had a librarian recommend that. My mom was really into it. I loved Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Fantastic. So now, along that same line, between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, I'm a big Star Wars guy. I love Star Wars books. So I'd read Star Wars Legends material, got in there, read a bunch of those books. And that's not real. I mean, that was kind of, Timothy Zahn was a really good author to read and stuff like that. It was just fun as a youngster to kind of read those stories. You're inspired. I think anything that gets a youngster into reading is good. I'm a teacher. I love that when kids get into literature and start to explore stories. I think it's fantastic. So, I see the chat going wild here. Holy smokes.
Yeah, we already have 15 people coming
look out now.
Check you out. Look at you.
Somebody sounded the horn. Somebody sounded the horn of Valir up in here. And this is where the heroes have gathered. This is crazy. You got a ton of people on this channel, man.
Listen, we have called the banners, and I might not have the largest audience, but I have a faithful audience. Okay.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I love it.
And a very engaged audience. And I take a lot of pride in that. And I will say that as a content creator, I guess I can call myself that now or something.
You can.
I have looked up to you and Matt and Lane and what you guys have done and the way that you interacted with me whenever I was just a listener. really set a good example, I think, for how to set up a community and get more out of this than just talking to the camera, right?
Yeah. It's relationships, right? I mean, this is the thing. I'm seeing all these people in here. Like you're talking to people. I mean, people are interested in fantasy, the genre, books, sharing stories. And I love this. I really love this because this is what it's actually all about is connecting with people and creating kind of that network and that community. I think it's one of the coolest things we can do in this day and age.
My mom is in the chat, just so everybody knows.
Shut up. Your mom's in this chat right now.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mama Nuts.
I have to behave. I have to behave now. I feel like.
I mean, we have Robert, my friend Chris is here, Rid, Nat, my mother, I think my wife is in the chat. This is, the loves of my life are here. Chris Bookish Cauldron, who I actually just gave a huge shout out to, by the way. I did a lot of filming today. And I'm sorry, I kind of took over your reading experience, but I just wanted to, we have
this is
22
cool.
people
I'm watching
here
this
today. This is great.
Yeah.
Did a bunch of filming today, but I want to give a shout out to Chris Bookish Cauldron and Rid specifically because I have read the Farseer trilogy, and reviewing that today was one of the hardest things to do because it's hard to put into words how much I loved that series. And as we get into recommendations, Ser Ezra, I will be telling you all about Robin Hobb and Farseer, especially because you're a big A Song of Ice and Fire fan. So
yeah.
Chris says hello, Jimmy's mom. Yes, everyone say hello to my mother. Good day. Awesome. What's up? Definitely not Odin. What's up? Fun story about my mother, Ezra. You'll love this. So some of you know I used to be a professional wrestler, and I won a heavyweight championship in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 2015. And when I did, I was able to bring my mother in the middle of the ring and to celebrate with me. And I think that was the highlight of her life.
Wow.
Seeing your mother in the middle of a wrestling ring is a very unique experience and very funny. So yeah, my mother is wonderful and always encouraged me to read. And, good. Her and my dad, I think actually your mother encouraged you
Absolutely.
to read, right?
Big time.
You grew up in a little bit of a stricter household. Yep. I remember you telling me that I think dad was a preacher, right?
Absolutely was preaching the gospel. He's preaching the gospel.
They said the only thing better than the gospel is the Hobbit. And they slid it across the table.
Boom. Here you go. They said, my boy needs to start reading some more, and he's not reading Matthew, Luke, whatever else the Gospels. What are the Gospels? I should know that, right? So they said, hey, you want to sit in the back of church? You want to read? That's fine. Read the Hobbit. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. So man. That's good. Your mom encouraged you to read. I like that. That's,
Yeah, and my dad did too. And hey, Lady Adrian from Bend the Knee community.
Let's go.
Good friend of both channels and people. So that's excellent.
Go.
Yeah, really excited to have you guys here, have you all here, and I'm glad you're hanging out. Ez is kind of going over his reading history. He was just talking about how he's read Lord of the Rings and he fell in love with it. What came for you after Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, so kind of went through, actually, you go to college and you go through a bit of a lull where I got into watching TV shows and just different things. I was still picking up a Star Wars book here and there, but read Lord of the Rings in middle school, high school. And then I got towards, it was right towards the end of college. And I heard that there was a TV show coming out called Game of Thrones.
Oh, what's that? I've never
heard of that.
I've never heard of it.
It's the gist of it is it starts off great. There's surprises and it ends terribly. Okay. Like I'm sorry.
We're going to keep it all books here today. Okay.
Okay. Books. Right. Okay. Gotcha. Sorry. The series. All right. My bad. That was the show. No. So I went to a bookstore and one of my former teachers was there and she kind of said, I told her about fantasy, what I was into. She described to me 2 series. She described Game of Thrones and then she described Wheel of Time. I was more interested in Wheel of Time. But she said, but this one has a TV show and it's coming out, sooner. And it's coming out like season 1's coming out. And I said, all right, I'm going to read book 1. Book 1, I read book 1 of Game of Thrones. Was ready, saw the TV show. After I saw the TV show, I was even more hooked. And so I was in. Season 1, I had read book 1, I was in. But I didn't go back to book 2. I didn't go back to Clash of Kings. I said, I'm going to go through Wheel of Time. I'm going to go back. That seemed interesting to me. And I went back.
So you started Game of Thrones, and then you read a Game of Thrones, and then you jumped to Wheel of Time. Wow.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yes, I didn't even start it. Yeah, I didn't even go to Clash of Kings because I knew I had time, and so I blitzed through a lot of the Wheel of Time. Like a lot of it. I mean, I was more than halfway through the series, but before season 2 was coming out, and I paused and I made sure that I had read, a Clash of Kings, and I was ready to go for that one. So it was kind of an odd way to start the Game of Thrones series. But I always wanted to read the book before the show came out. It was just a thing for me, and so I did that. Once I finished the Game of Thrones series, because after season 2, I had pretty much finished up the Wheel of Time series. I got through the last 3 or 4 books. Because that first year, I mean, I was blitzing through it. I don't even, because you're not podcasting about it, you're not blogging about it. You're just reading it. You're just experienced. Yeah,
you're in it. Yep.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't need to know everything. I just want to listen. I listen to Audible, and so I would just drive through, and it was great. And then after season 2, I said, all right, time to finish Game of Thrones. After season 2, I said, it's go time. And I just drove on ahead. I just drove all the way to the end. I thought this was great. I went and read every novella, everything that they had, and I was just blown away. And ironically, I didn't even really talk to Sir Matt about Game of Thrones. At the time, he was in Portland. He was out in Portland. Yeah. I was back in Ohio. So my buddy was actually Sir Thomas the Round, who was a one-time appearance on our podcast, BTK, and Bend the Knee podcast. And so I talked to him about it. We watched the show, and he's a big reader. He's a custodian, so he can just listen and read through everything. And so that was cool. And I got through that, and I said, gosh, I just kind of fell in love with those series. And then I went through, and I kind of forgot. I left this out, but Harry Potter is a series that you can easily kind of go through. So sorry, people are gonna. I can't believe I just said that out loud. Everyone in the chat is gonna go, Harry Potter. Did that guy just mention Harry Potter and Game of Thrones and Wheel of Time in the same sentence?
Well, all those are very profound. Series when it comes to influence. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, she's an idiot now, but
she is.
Yeah. But I think it's really interesting that you went from one series to the next. And Wheel of Time, it's interesting because I finished A Song of Ice and Fire, and I was very worried I would never find another series that captivated me as much as George did with A Song of Ice and Fire and the Duncan Egg novellas. And everyone said Wheel of Time, Wheel of Time. And I got into Wheel of Time, and it was right around whenever you guys were creating the podcast Heroes of the Horn. Sure. And I actually remember going back and forth. I was like, oh my God, you're starting that podcast. I just started the first book. It was super cool. Yeah. And I don't think that, so this is maybe a not such a hot take, but I don't think Wheel of Time is a good recommendation for someone that's looking for something like Game of Thrones, because I remember getting into Wheel of Time like, this is amazing, but it has, other than scale, it doesn't really have anything to do with The Song of Ice and Fire, you know?
Yep. I agree with you.
So but it's interesting because I love both. I really do. I definitely have a preference between the two, and that's fine. But everyone just said, "Oh, read Wheel of Time," and I started reading. I said, "Guys, this has nothing to do with the Song of Ice. It is not even close." But I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, did you feel like there was enough contrast between the two series that reading them at the same time didn't bother you?
Oh, for sure. Actually, it was very easy to kind of separate them because quickly in Wheel of Time, you jump into, like magical powers, the one power. You jump into a lot of that magical and mystic element a lot quicker than you do, I think, in a Game of Thrones. And so you're right.
That prologue. I remember I go, what in the hell? Who is Luce Theron? And
who is this guy?
I need more.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yes.
And we just finished book 4 on Heroes of the Horn. You and Sir Matt did.
Yeah.
I got to do an episode, and that is about where I'm at. I know Chris Bookish Cauldron, who was in the chat, is about the same place as me, about halfway through book 5. And Rid is actually, you should really check into Rid. She has a wonderful YouTube channel, but Rid is a connoisseur of Wheel of Time, and that's someone that I think if you had her on your channel, you could have some excellent conversations. So
I'm down. Yeah.
Now, I guess the next step here is, because I do want to get into some recommendations, and there's people already throwing out stuff in the chat, and we'll get to it, because I think Rid made a good point, and Stuart Carver brought up Gwyn, so I'm definitely going to be pitching all those. But what is it about these series, if you had to pick something about all of them, right? Like, what are you looking for in a fantasy series? Because I know what I love. I love characters, And I'm a big fan of political intrigue, and I don't mind a good battle scene, but it's not necessary. But what do you look for when you're looking for the next read?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So it's really yeah, I love to follow a character, and I love to see a character rise, go through their ups and downs and the valleys and the mountains. But more specifically, I look for those moments where something is, it doesn't have to be a battle scene. It doesn't have to be yeah, I guess sort of like that big, like the climax. But along the rising action, you have these moments where whether it's Rand or Jon Snow or whoever it might be, they have epic moments where epic speeches are given, or epic kind of just like where you're like hold everything, where the author pushes you to go a little further than you thought it was going to go. Like they took you to a place where you were like, I didn't know we were going to go there. And then we did, you know, and I don't know. The thing I like about Robert Jordan, I'm sorry if I'm going to kind of like really elevate that series.
Go for it.
But it's like he does stuff with Rand that I just go, it's you talk about epic fantasy, doing things that are at such a high level that it meets the word, like you understand why the word epic is attached to the series, because it's epic, you know? And I don't know, like the characters do something that moves the plot forward in such a way that it's wild. And sometimes the antagonist does something to our batch of heroes that we cannot believe happened, and it puts them in such a pickle that we're like, I don't know. I love that roller coaster. I love that ride of just emotion. See, sometimes you get into a series and like the build or the setup becomes a little too, it's too much. You know, it's almost like I need a couple really good moments to keep me interested and to keep me, you know, invested in driving forward. And I know that's where some of the best series, you have to get through the first third. You have to keep pushing through because they're setting you up for something epic.
Yes.
And yeah,
I think I'm a lot like you in that regard. And, you know, I don't mind this. I'm a sucker for a slow start. A lot of people don't like that, but if you can lay the groundwork, talking about those moments, those fist pumping moments, I call them character defining moments, because it's really a fine line. When you have taken all this time to set up things, you know, these big moments like Tyrion's trial, for instance, or the parts of the Great Hunt. I'm not going to spoil anything, but Great Hunt ending reminds me of great character defining moments for Matt and Rand and Perrin and the girls in the series, you know, Egwene and Nynaeve and everybody. I remember where they were in the climax of that story. And you're right. If they put the characters in a pickle, and it's such a fine line for the author to walk, to not insult our intelligence by putting them in a pickle and then saving them in a ridiculous way, right? It's Robert Jordan, it's the Gurms, it's the Hobbs, that they ride that fine line and they find a way to get out of that pickle that is so inventive and unique that it sticks in our memories forever. So I think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like you're saying that you like to look back at the end of the story and say, how the hell did we get here?
Yes.
How the hell did we end up here?
Yes. Because without spoilers, the eye of the world. And so people, you know, I started off with Game of Thrones, doing the whole podcast with Matt and running through, you know, on Bend the Knee. And it's awesome. That series is not finished, but like even at the end of a Game of Thrones, you get to Eddard Stark, you know, hopefully most people have read that series and some major stuff happens. But with Eye of the World, I'm telling you right now, Jimmy, we go from 0 to 60 multiple times in that one book. And I'm I'm just going to say a couple keywords here. They're not spoiler, but we hit something called a Waygate and stuff just goes through the roof.
You level up.
You level up like you would not believe. And it's just, it feels like a video game where you're like, you acquired the sword. Now you have the shield. Now you have a magical potion. Oh, there's a wise sage who's going to guide you through a mysterious Waygate and take you far away to battle some dark evil. I mean, it's just on another level. It really is. I mean, so based on what you're saying, I've already seen recommends being thrown out. Also, I want to shout out to Super Gains Bros. Sir Matt is in the chat saying he likes green eggs and ham, and he likes when his books rhyme. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
So I think the first series that I'm going to recommend, and I'll try to keep up with the chat. We got a lot going on here, but the first series I want to recommend to you, because you're talking about character defining moments. And another thing about this series I'm about to recommend, and I know you, and I know the content you make, and you and Sir Matt have been, in my opinion, the gold standard for making content for fantasy series so far for me. And selfishly, I would love to see you make content for the Stormlight Archive, because there's a lot to dive into when it comes to Stormlight. And to kind of put it over the top, when I think of character defining moments, there's a character named Kaladin. Kaladin has some of the best character development I've seen in the first 4 books of Stormlight Archive. I think that is something that I could imagine you getting pumped up. Like, let's go, baby. Like, I could see you pushing the mic away, slamming a White Claw, being ready for it. And another cool thing about Stormlight, it's ongoing. And part of the fun, at least that we have over at Bend the Knee, but the fun's gone on too long. Is that, it's still an ongoing series. It's not finished. And you and Sir Matt get to go over these amazing theories on Bend the Knee, and I love listening to it. Obviously, we want the book now, George. It's never coming. But the Stormlight Archive is ongoing with an active author that is very attentive. And another beautiful thing is that it connects to a bigger universe called the Cosmere, which is all of other Brandon Sanderson's writings. And there's, it's kind of like the MCU, right? Like, we get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they intertwine, and you get a little Easter eggs and tie-ins here. So I think my number one recommendation, and something that I've seen in chat a bunch. I mean, I have people, yes,
I'm saying right now. Yeah.
Stormlight Archive. So that's number one. I know you're a Brandon Sanderson fan because he finished up Wheel of Time. And I believe you said you liked how he wrapped up the series. Like, you thought he did a good job. So
I did. Yeah. And I've also read Mistborn.
Hey, so you've read Mistborn. I didn't know that.
I've read the Mistborn. Yeah. The first 3, right? The first 3. And then there's another 3 after that.
And another one coming after that.
Is there really?
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting.
Wow.
He did Mistborn, which is kind of, your medieval fantasy or whatever. And then I believe the Era 2 moves into more of an industrial revolution. I may be wrong. I haven't read Era 2. And then Era 3 is supposed to be steampunk sci-fi, from what I heard. Pretty interesting. But there are supposedly going to be some Mistborn tie-ins with Stormlight. Now, the one thing I will say about Stormlight, and not everyone's going to agree with me. I know Chris Bookish Calder does agree with me on this, but Brandon's writing is very window pane prose. So that, like, elegant, beautiful writing we get with Tolkien, if you're into that, and Gurm and Robert Jordan, you don't get that as much, which I don't necessarily think is a detractor, but it is a factor to consider, because I know that you do like flowery prose stuff to dig into.
Yeah.
Sanderson provides complexity and depth to his writing because of the connections in the story. I do think the first 2 books are much better than 3 and 4, but there's other people that say 3 and 4 are their favorites. So
really,
there's a lot to chew on here. So I think it's a good recommendation. The other one that I keep saying, and I'll kind of jump into this, is called The First Law. Have you ever heard of The First Law?
No. What's this about? Come on.
So this is interesting. All right. And this is more of a Song of Ice and Fire. I don't think it's actually that much like it, but it's very grim, and the stakes are really high for our characters, and they're pretty brutal. Absolutely brutal to the characters. Written by Joe Abercrombie, who is a huge fan of Gurm, and Gurm's a fan of him. So their writing kind of coalesces, but very gritty, raw, tons of swearing, violence, sex, just like Game of Thrones.
All right.
In that regard, at least. And I think it's a little bit smaller of a scope story. And there's about 10 books, but there's a trilogy, some standalones, and a new trilogy. So there's a lot you could dive into there. But I don't think it provides the same depth of like theory crafting and such as some of the other series. But First Law is another excellent recommendation that a user, I missed who said it, but is absolutely one you should look into. First Law is my second pick too, someone said.
Oh, really? Yeah. So is it like, I mean,
medieval setting. Okay. I'll walk you through this. There's so many series to recommend to you. I'm trying to do the micro pitch right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
We got time, baby. We got time.
Yeah.
We got 30 people live. They're ready to see it.
I'm down.
So First Law. So Stuart Carver said he loved First Law, but didn't like didn't or he likes the Song of Ice Fire, didn't like First Law, that's totally valid.
Mhm.
So the thing from First Law that, if I could compare it to A Song of Ice and Fire for a second, if you like the grimmish nihilistic tone that we kind of get in the brutality towards the characters, like those big just like emotional moments for the characters, I think First Law does kind of embody that. It's set in a medieval time. You follow around a couple different characters. There is a wizard named Baez. And you'll love this. Baez is Joe Abercrombie's commentary saying, "What if Gandalf took the One Ring?"
Holy.
That was his idea behind Baez.
My.
What if Gandalf had taken the ring for himself?
Oh, man.
I might have just sold him right there, folks.
You might have sold,
I might have sold him right there.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous.
We have a former, hero of the army who has become, he got captured by the enemy and was just absolutely tortured and crippled. And now he lives, and his number one enemy now is the stairs, he says, because he can barely walk. And his name's Galactica. And I think Galactica is one of the best characters in all fantasy. And then there's the legend, and people in chat are probably thinking, why haven't I mentioned this character already? And that's the Bloody Nine, Logan Nine Fingers. He's a barbaric warrior from the north and a legend, and possibly demon possessed.
Okay.
So pretty excellent if you enjoy kind of going into the grimmer side of fantasy. But there's a little bit of political intrigue. There's a struggle between kingdoms. And actually, I have a why you should read First Law video coming out with Lost in Discovery, who is an amazing content creator, coming out either this weekend or next. So I'll send that to you, Ser Ezra. Yeah. And you can check that out. Great. Yeah. So let's see. We got a bunch of chats going on. My goodness.
Tons of people.
Are you saying that people love you, Ser Ezra? They're here for you.
I think that no. They're trying to sway me. Well, there's so many series to recommend. It's a big decision here, my friend. You know. Yeah,
I'm trying to pick them all out. I know someone already said Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I've already pitched Ezra Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn.
I mean, yeah.
I think it's one of the best series of all time. And I've kind of given you that pitch off stream. But if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. But I think we've covered. Go ahead.
Can I just say something on that series though? Because you have sold me on that. I run a book club at my high school, so I have kids who want recommendations. And so let me ask you, is that a book series that would be what's the age? I mean, is it okay to read for? Because I got kids reading Wheel of Time. I mean, I got kids reading some of that. I mean, it's not. Once you get pretty far into Wheel of Time, there's some shit. I would not recommend Game of Thrones for maybe my high schoolers even. I'd say wait till you get out of high school. But I just kind of wondered, because the way you pitched to me, I'm thinking couple magical swords, more than one. I'm in.
Listen, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I said, what kind of title is that, Tad Williams? I'd never read it. And then they tell you, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn are the names of 3 magical swords, all crafted in different ways. And you say, excuse me.
I was down.
I said, I'm in. I think it has a very similar tone and maturity level as Lord of the Rings. So if you ever wanted to recommend it at school, I think it'd be totally fine. The beautiful thing about Tad Williams' writing is that he does a very elegant job of tying everything in at the end. The resolution for that book was almost too perfect. He did such a nice job of wrapping up that trilogy. And then Tad's writing is exquisite. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. One of the best writers. Him and Robin Hobb, I think, are the 2 best writers I've read. Memory and Sorrow and Thorn would be right up your alley. And I think there's also a good amount of potential for content creation to come out of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I made my Lands of Ostenard video. I talked to a gentleman from Finland today. He goes by Fallen Adam on my channel. He comments. He wrote, he explained to me all the languages. Tolkien had his languages. Tad did too. And he was telling me how it relates to Finnish language and how Tolkien also pulled from it. So there's a lot of depth to that series is what I'm trying to say. And again, selfishly, I'd love to see you make content for it. I think you do an excellent job there. So that and Stormlight to me are the 2 I think I'm 100% positive you'd love those 2 series. And the third one, let me just Matt, Sir Matt said this live stream is huge. Why aren't we doing this for Rebel Watch?
A thousand reasons and none. All right. So
Stuart Carver
Jesus,
says Giselle was one of the best characters from First Law. I would agree. Giselle is such a tragic hero in some ways and an asshole in some others. You have magic swords. That's where I went wrong. That's true. And Lady Adrian in the chat here, Adrian Dillard in the chat, is actually an author, writes historical fiction, and I told her she should put more magical swords in her fantasy. Or
Absolutely.
In her historical fiction, there should be more.
Her historical fiction. Yeah, right.
Does Dan Brown books count? They're fast read, ton of symbolism. I mean, it might. I've never actually read them. Yes, someone said Tad Williams was a big influence on Gurm. That is 100% correct. Gurm actually has a very comical quote on the front of the Dragon Bone chair. It says, inspired me to write my own 7-book trilogy, which is hilarious. Cheeky George.
Cheeky.
He has all this time for a front cover. And, you know, so let's see. I'm trying not to miss anything here. The Warlord Chronicles is great. Absolutely. Arthurian legend. That's true. Chronicles of Narnia. That's my rec. Hey, I think you have read Chronicles of Narnia, right?
Yeah. So actually, I've only read The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I've never finished the series though. So
I've never read it. Yeah,
it's C.S. Lewis. The economy of words, like in so few words, can communicate so many different things. I even think Tolkien would complimented him at one point on like he can use. It's just he's so good at just simplifying things and streamlining it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, I definitely have intention to read C.S. Lewis at some point. The Horse and His Boy. All right, let's go.
So yeah. I don't know. I haven't got there yet. Horse and His Boy is a. I think that's in the Chronicles of Narnia, right? I think that's one of the books,
right?
Yeah, I have not got that far though.
Sir Matt,
no spoilers in the chat.
Yeah, easy on the Narnia spoilers. Jeez, it's only been out for 50 years.
Right. Yeah.
We actually had Sir Matt say Dark Tower, and Heather also agreed. And Dark Tower is something I'll be getting into this year. The thing about Dark Tower that I think is interesting is the fact that it's Stephen King doing fantasy, and that's enough for me to be pretty intrigued by it. And I've also heard that it's a huge commentary on the idea of destiny, and that is something that we see repeatedly, like Rand in Wheel of Time and things that. So see Stephen King subvert that would be pretty interesting. I know the ending is polarizing. I don't know the ending, but I'm willing to read and find out. His Dark Materials. That's an interesting one. I've actually never read.
That's a TV. That's a show or a movie. Or was it like
I think they made a movie, but right now it's an HBO show. And I watched the first season. I thought it was rather good. I don't know how people relate it to the books. Like I don't know if it's a good adaptation, but I thought the show was well done. And Commander Mormont is in it.
Is he really?
Yeah, from the Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Let's go.
What are our thoughts on Malazan? I'm waiting till later this year to start The Prince of Nothing. So I am going to be reading Malazan this year. I don't think I'm going to recommend that to you, Ezra. I for some reason, I don't know if Malazan would be like knowing you and knowing what gets you hyped. I actually would not recommend Malazan to you, at least at this point. But maybe I'm wrong because that is one of the most dense series. I'm pumped to read it. I'm really excited about it. You know, I shouldn't say that I don't recommend it. That is something I'm not sure if you would like. That's definitely something we could look into on the side because Malazan is bigger than Wheel of Time as far as word count.
Is it really?
It's supposed to be the most complex fantasy series of all time. But listen, Ser Ezra, I'm going to take the reins and make a recommendation. I'm reading this chat. Jimmy, have you read 5th season? I've not, but I am going to read the Broken Earth trilogy very soon. My recommendation for you, sir, is a little trilogy that's a part of a 16-book series called The Realm of the Elderlings. Then the trilogy is called Farseer, which I'll have a review out for next weekend. I think next Sunday or maybe this Wednesday. We'll see. Oh my God. George endorses, says it's fantasy the way it ought to be written. And I don't think there's ever been a series for me that has resonated with me as much as A Song of Ice and Fire as just this first trilogy. And again, there's 13 other books. And I think that you would absolutely love it. It is one of the most heartbreaking stories I've read just 3 books in. We follow a royal bastard named Fitz. And Fitz's dad is supposed to inherit the throne. He's his bastard son. And his dad forfeits the throne because he had a bastard and went against his honor. And now Fitz is sitting at the castle and he's an acknowledged royal bastard. And he is going to become an assassin.
Yes. Okay.
Dude, I mean, I think
Okay.
when I read it, I was like, oh, this is like top shelf fantasy. Like this is what we're talking. You talk about the Wheel of Time, talk about this, like right up there. Robin Hobb in the Realm of the Elderlings is, and I've only read the first trilogy, is absolutely one of the, I think it's a masterpiece. Like I think it's a pillar of the fantasy genre. And I think people in the chat can absolutely agree to that. I've heard Hobb's next trilogy are much better. Yes, I'm about to read Live Ships at the end of the month. So to give you an idea, Ser Ezra, she writes the Fitz novels in trilogies. And Fitz is all from a first-person perspective, which I didn't think I'd like. Turns out I love it.
Yeah, really.
So there are 2 magic systems in the world, right?
That's what I was going to ask you about the magic.
So there's a skill, and skill is almost telepathic. Like you can communicate with I could use my skill to get into your brain and get you to say something or do something or communicate with you. I can also kind of change circumstances to make you make a certain decision, but there's a forbidden magic. It's an inherited magic.
Let's go.
Called the wit. And with the wit, you can talk to animals.
Okay.
We're not talking about warging, though. The rumor is if you use it too much, you will become a warg and lose your soul.
Wow.
Best animal companionship of all time. Also, Redwall is an amazing book, Matt. Absolutely.
Redwall. Get out of here. I mean, it is.
They're making a TV show, by the way.
It is good. Are they really? Wow.
Yeah.
See, I like when you bring up the magical systems and kind of how and that thing, because I thought, like, I like Mistborn. I like what was done in there. It's very unique, very interesting.
Yeah.
I've loved Wheel of Time. What's going on there? And Song of Ice and Fire. No one knows what, and is it blood magic? No one freaking knows what's going on in there. But I do like exploring those systems, and just sometimes less is more, but also sometimes more is more. Like it just depends on how they're going to write it and what they're going to give you. And I like that. I've actually been pitched back in the day in that same books, if I may, real quickly, the Farseer trilogy. I forgot about this when you said assassin. I knew I had a buddy, Tom, Sir Thomas the Round, who is a great reader, loves to read these series, who said something about this series at one point. I don't know how far he went, but just kind of said offhandedly, you would love it. So that's just to add to the chat and what everyone else is saying. I've had a personal friend too, just recommend that. And that's cool. I like the idea of, so this guy becomes an assassin. I mean,
yeah, and remember, we're with him whenever he's young, torn away from his mother because she can't provide for him anymore. So she goes and drops him off the keep and says, "This is that prince's bastard."
Wow.
Had him take care. He knocked me out. He can take care of him. Wow. And now, to be fair, his mom didn't want to give him up. It was more his mom's father. So his grandfather was like,
sure.
Another mouth at the table. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. And he's 6 years old when you meet Fitz. You see him go from the trilogy names, and this is all you need to know. Assassin's Apprentice, Book 1. Book 2, Royal Assassin. Book 3, Assassin's Quest. Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
You see Fitz not only become an assassin's apprentice, but you see him learn court politics. The best political intrigue I've read in a book ever.
Huh.
Makes Littlefinger look like shit.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Yeah. And then you see Fitz become a man. You see Fitz go through relationships, not just with his friends, but he falls in love. And how do you handle love when you fall in love and you're a royal bastard and things are a little complicated? How does that work?
And you're an assassin? And you're an assassin?
And you can't tell anybody.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think so. For me, my number one recommendation, I see Chris Bicker's was like, yeah, absolutely, Hobb. I'll tell you what, if you think Hobb is a great recommendation for Ser Ezra, just put a +1 in the chat. Just put a +1.
Yeah, give me yeah. So this is the Farseer trilogy. How many books are in this?
16 books in the Realm of the Elderlings.
Let's go. Is it done? Is it finished?
Done. It's done. And I have heard that the finale, I've heard that the final trilogy is possibly the best conclusion to a series of all time.
Wow.
Like, and this is coming from people that I very much trust. We got a +1000 plus. We got tons of +1s coming in. Now, the only thing that I
Go.
will say that I think is different than the books that you've talked about and that you loved is that the cast of characters doesn't expand until the second series. It's called the Live Ship Traders, and it is actually written from a third-person perspective. So whenever the books are not focused around Fitz the Bastard, they're third person with another cast of characters, and then they all intertwine.
That's cool.
Through the series.
That's really cool.
So it might seem like it's narrow in scope, but apparently it bridges out. And there is a lot of mystery. To give you an example, I was in Rid's Discord and a bunch of us were reading, and we were just crafting theories through the first 3 books. And you see some of your theories come to light. You see some of them fall to the wayside. And it's very much like a Song of Ice and Fire in that regard, where there's a lot of mystery about what's true and what's not. One of the things that you and Matt have talked about in A Song of Ice and Fire that really, one of the things I love about the series is we learn a lot of information from the inns and the taverns, don't we?
Yeah. Yes,
I remember Matt pointing this out. And that is exactly how Farseer worked. Everything we know is through Fitz's eyes, and he's a new kid at court. So he's hearing rumors in the kitchen. He's hearing rumors in Buck. He's going down fishing. I'll tell you what, Fitz,
I love that.
When Fitz is a kid, he's running around, he's stealing. He's stealing from the merchants. And he's hearing stuff. He's hearing all about these red raiders that are invading. These red raiders that have magic. These red raiders who are able to zap the soul from the people of Buck, from the people of the 6 duchies. So there's also a evil out in the ocean.
Let's go.
That's coming in. They're taking over. They're taking more land. And in the capital of 6 duchies up in Buck, they're broke. They can't defend. Verity is a prince who is trying to use his magic to defend. And anybody who has the other skill, which is actually called wit, is hunted and hung over water for being half man, half beast.
Wow.
The duchies are about to fall. The Red Raiders take it. What is going on? And where does Fitz fit into all this? I'm telling you, it is.
I just had 3 thoughts on Fitz as to where maybe he fits into all of that.
Oh, my goodness. Let me tell you something.
I am down on that. That sounds
slow burn. One of the most rewarding reads I've ever had, for sure. So knowing you, I think Stormlight is a great choice. I think Farseer is a great choice, and I think Memory Star and Thorn. Those are the ones that I really recommend. I think First Law could be your thing. But I'm not totally sure. And then Malazan, I don't feel super comfortable recommending because I haven't read it yet. So I need Jimmy as my hype man. This dude can sell anything. I used to whip e-machines at Best Buy.
Let's go.
Say, dude, you're getting Adele. Long book series are the best. I agree, Heather, 100%. Man, there's a ton of recommends in the chat. We're going to have to go back through and read all these. Let's see. I found if Fabio is on the cover, it's usually a good book. Yes, some of the Robin Hobb covers are not great. I have the UK
I just looked them up. I just looked up a couple.
Don't worry about the covers. Just ignore that.
All right.
Royal Assassin, which is book 2, I think is the second best fantasy book I've ever read. The best fantasy book I've ever read is A Storm of Swords. The second is Royal Assassin, and I've heard that it gets way better. Where he fits in, Oh, nice little pun. I'm telling you, Jimmy is book wingman. Jimmy is making me want to reread Farseer, and I just finished it.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, I'll host a read along. I'm down.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what we need to do. Maybe we need to do a Hobb read along.
Well, this is cool. I mean, I looked up all of the different Farseer trilogy. Is it? Tell me if I'm wrong here. Live Ship Traders trilogy. Is this all the same thing? I'm just looking.
That's what you read next after Farseer, and you don't get any Fitz. You get something that's happening in the other side of the world. Yeah. And then the next part of the series jumps back to Fitz, and then eventually they intersect.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can't give away too much, but just trust me, the magical elements, there's a lot of tie over from A Song of Ice and Fire, and Hobb and Gurm are very good friends. And I know Gurm is he always recommends Hobb. And you can kind of see, I feel like the Red Raiders remind me of the White Walkers a little bit. I mean, they're totally different, but like they're that existential threat on humanity, but they're not killing people. They're taking their livelihood and soul. So when they come back, they're almost like drug addicts. Like they're almost like, you know what I mean? Whenever you like look at somebody and you're like, you know, I've had that in my life where I knew someone who became addicted and like I just didn't know them anymore. And it was like that. It was like hollow, right? That's what they do to people.
Fudge.
And they want to feed on people. They'll do it. They basically have all the worst traits of humanity, like greed, all this crazy stuff. So pretty wild. Chris Bookish Culture said Song of Shattered Sands by Bradley, I can't say that name, might be a good one if you want an Arabia-inspired fantasy with lots of political intrigue, good characters like A Song of Ice and Fire. 5 of 6 books published. 6 comes out this summer.
Huh.
Okay. Yes, Chris, read this year's now so underrated. All right, I'm gonna put that on my TBR. That sounds really interesting, and I trust Chris's opinion very much. Chris Bookish Cauldron has put me on so many good books, and put me on Hob, by the way. And we're currently reading a Tad Williams book together, which is really cool. The Willful Prince, the Princess, and the Piebald Prince. Hob Novella Foster Fireseer. It's so good for 160 pages. Very cool. Very cool. So I think you got some really cool recommends here. I would love to see you read any of these. I mean, the reason why I brought Ez on is because and Sir Matt will be on with Ez at some point, I think in the near future, because this is going great. And we'll probably be talking Wheel of Time because it's a good point since we're starting book 5 on Heroes of the Horn with you guys. But the reason why Ser Ezra is here is because Ser Ezra and Sir Matt are 2 of the best content creators I've met.
Easy now.
Listen, I love my fandoms, and this guy over here, Ser Ezra, it would be a pleasure if he were to enter into a community or a fandom and start making content. Same with Sir Matt. They put out some of the top quality content, and I would love to see your opinions on Stormlight and Farseer as I go through it. So I'm definitely a little bit selfish here. I'm doing a sales pitch because I want to see your takes. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm highly intrigued by these because, it's just, the crazy thing is like, I know me and you know this, right? Once I get into a series, I pour myself into it. And I do love a good series where it's not finished and I can speculate along with the fandom and I can theorize. I like that. I do like that. So Stormlight is intriguing to me for that. But I was looking ahead at this the Farseer trilogy and looking at all of the different books. The most recent one, when did it come out? Is it 2017? Is that right? Fits in the full trilogy?
Yeah, it's recently wrapped up. Yeah. So
like Assassin's Fate.
You get 16 books, and I don't. And the thing, Farseer is not that long. Like knowing you can plow through it. It's not as long as Wheel Time, I don't believe. So you'll be good. Have you recommended John Gwen? That's correct. I'm sitting over here going over forgetting one of my favorite authors, John Gwen. So John Gwen wrote a inspired fantasy called The Faithful and the Fallen, and then there's a follow-up trilogy called Of Blood and Bones. So we'll just call it the Banished Lands. That's the world. And essentially, you're gonna love this. It's a commentary on prophecy and religion. There are a good amount of people called the Ben Alim, which are angels, essentially. Let's just call them angels. And then there's demons called the Kadoshim. And there once was a god, I think his name is, I'm probably going to mess it up. I think it's Eidolon. I can't remember his name, Eidolon or something like that. I'm blanking on it right now. But he was almost like God, and he has died. He's went away. So the angels are forsaken, right? And they're in internal war with the Kadoshim in the spiritual realm. And then we have our humans down here in the Banished Lands who know of the Ben Alim and the Kadoshim and stuff, but they all think it's all dead, right? And there's some people who want power in the Banished Lands, and they want to bring the Kadoshim to their realm. And how do you do that? You collect the ancient artifacts that were spread over the world that were made from a meteorite. And you put them all into a pot and you melt them down, and it opens up a portal to hell where these people can come back through. But there's supposed to be one that can defeat the Kadoshim and bring the Ben Alim back. And that is the Bright Star. Fudge. It's like the Dragon Reborn. What would happen is if maybe 2 people said they were the Bright Star. Right. Whose destiny is it? And can you really trust prophecies and what you've been told is good? There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of moral questions. There's a lot of questioning of power structures here. Decent amount of political intrigue. The thing about The Faithful and the Fallen that anybody that's read it can attest to, John Gwen's pacing is insane. And I don't mean that in a bad way where he misses out on those big character defining moments that me and you've talked about. He gives all of that, and he can do it in like 500 pages. Like you could bust through the trilogy in a week, knowing
Really?
you.
It's just a trilogy?
I'm sorry, it's a quartet. The first one's a quartet and then a trilogy. So really it's 7 books. The second trilogy takes place 100 years down the road, which is really cool. It's like a time jump. The Faithful and the Fallen, which is what you would start with if you try, it's a quartet. And it's one of my favorite book series of all time because John Gwen has some of the best character development with little page time I've ever seen. There's no one else doing it like him. He writes the best combat in all of fantasy. And hear me.
Mm-hmm,
the stakes in the Banished Lands are high.
I like high stakes.
Anybody can die, and and they do.
Let's go.
And check this out. We got wolves. We got ancient giant clans at war with each other.
Yeah.
We have hidden, prophesied about ancient warrior race that no one has seen in years coming back. We have a magical forest. Mm-hmm. We have a bunch of the cool, familiar fantasy tropes and themes that have then just been twisted quite a bit to make them feel fresh again.
Yeah. All right. My friend, you build a character up in a series and you say, you're going to like this guy, but guess what? I'm going to take him away from you. If that happens, I don't know what, I don't want it to happen, but at the same time, that's good writing. That's good stuff. So
as long as it doesn't feel cheap, and John Gwen never feels cheap with his writing ever.
Yeah.
Ever. What is Sir Matt and Ser Ezra channel? Real quick, I just want to jump in. Alvin Smith, you can check them out. They have a Bend the Knee podcast, which is a Song of Ice and Fire, the best Song of Ice and Fire podcast on the planet. Bend the Knee. They're almost at 1,000 subs, which doesn't give them credit because, as I believe you've had over 1 million downloads for the podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah, a couple million. Yeah,
a couple million downloads. So as in Sir Matt are no spring chicken.
Well,
I mean, they've been around. Okay.
Easy now. It was Sir Matt who was quoted in the New York Times. Okay, not me. All right.
Featured in the New York Times. I mean, incredible podcast. And they also have Heroes of the Horn, which is a Wheel of Time read along. It's a really good dynamic because Ser Ezra has read the series multiple times. Sir Matt has not. He's like me. So they're going through it for the first time, spoiler free as much as it can be. And seeing Matt's reactions as Ez knows what's coming is such a good dynamic. I recommend the Heroes of the Horn to anybody that will listen. And then you have Up Talking Tolkien. With your buddy Lane. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Matt Nez show, which is really just Matt Nez being Matt Nez, which is
just goofing off.
The guys I love. I love these guys.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in there, but I'm sorry. Continue your thought.
Yeah. Well, actually, real quick, you said something right there. You were talking about Heroes of the Horn and Wheel of Time, and you were talking about, a couple of different, 2 people maybe claiming to be the Dragon Reborn. There are elements in the Wheel of Time that I cannot wait for you guys to get to because, wow,
let's go.
Some stuff happens that you go, wait a second, who's this guy?
I'm ready. I've been in a Wheel of Time mood lately too. I've been like jonesing for it. I took a little break. I got a little burnout. But, now that you guys are going into book 5, I'm like, I'm in. I'm ready.
Yeah, book 5 will take you places. It'll take you places you didn't think you could go.
Hey, someone said the only series that they felt like a Song of Ice and Fire comparison was warranted was with The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwen, which is what we were just talking about. So,
well, is that Malice?
Malice, Valor, Ruin. I'll send you. I got all 7 back here. I'll send you all 7.
Yeah, that's sick. I'm looking at it right now.
And one thing I will say, it's a completed series. And another really nice thing about that is that it's not terribly long. I mean, most of the books average about 550 pages. You can tear through them. And I'm telling you, when you pick up Malice has a little slow start. It's a little clunky, I think, at the beginning. Sure. When you close the last page on Malice, you're going to go, what in the world? I mean, he rocks, he gut punches you. And then Valor, all the way to book 7 of the other trilogy, is just gasoline. I mean, I've never seen a pace. And again, I have to stress, because some people feel like when someone has a really high pace that they kind of cheapen out those character building moments or any of that. That's not the case with John Gwen. He has mastered the recipe for attention to detail while also being blockbuster material with action. I mean, his war scenes, the final battles in the quartet and the trilogy are the 2 best battle scenes I've ever seen in fantasy. Easily.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
very easy to recommend. Oh yeah, also Hyperspace Hangout. If you're into Star Wars, Sir Matt and Sir Ezra do an amazing Star Wars podcast. They actually got me into Star Wars because I didn't even want to do it.
Yeah,
I said, I just want to hear these guys more.
give it a go. Yeah, I know you were actually asking about Star Wars books to read and stuff, and I was
and
like,
I
wow.
will get to those.
You tear through books like I love that because I'm a guy who I can tear through a book series. Watch out, friends. I love it. I love it. I've been resisting a little bit because I'm like, I've been forcing myself to, in the content creation world, tear back through series where I can go super in depth, try to make all the connections, know it inside and out, and really get after it. So I'm a little hesitant sometimes to jump into something new because it just stretches, it stretches the mind a little bit that much further. But it's good. I posted a poll the other day, and I wanted to know about Malazan. I wanted to know about Stormlight and these other series.
I'm gonna pull that poll up actually.
Yeah, I also put The Expanse in there, my friend.
That's a good one.
I wasn't sure. I thought I'm liking the TV show, and I said I really like the TV show, but I'm also, sometimes you just need it's good just to consume a TV show and just watch it. And I've always wondered what would it be like to watch Game of Thrones and not have ever read the series. What would I think?
Yeah. And I will be honest with you. I think that show is so good that it does do justice to the books. Like it's one of the very few times where I feel like it's okay to a certain point that you don't read the books because it does diverge at some point. But The Expanse is a tremendous show and a tremendous book series. I don't think anybody would ever argue that. Someone actually said apparently the show is better than the book. I mean, I don't think that's a controversial opinion at all, to be honest. Lady Adrian says, what if Ez and Jimmy did a read along of one of these series? I'm just thinking out loud here. I mean, Ezra is always welcome. Him or Sir Matt are always welcome here on the channel.
We've thought about it, friends. We've thought about it. So
we just got to pick something and go, right? We just got to dive on in.
There's so many good things though. Like this is the dilemma. Like, I mean, I really don't know. I'm a big fan of Brandon Sanderson, but a part of me wants to act like I'm almost envious that I haven't gone through some of these series and read more. I mean,
well, the nice thing is that minus Realm of the Elderlings, you could read The Faithful and the Fallen. You could read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, even though there is another trilogy in that universe, but it's not finished yet. Like you could get through those and then get the Stormlight, or you could get the Stormlight, get caught up, get your theories nice and crafted, and then you could jump into something else. You could take your time, which is cool. I'm looking at your poll, and there was about 39 votes, and this has changed a lot since the last time I looked. Stormlight Archive, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, The Expanse, and Malazan were the 4 options. We're going to add a couple more here, and I'm going to put a straw poll up in a second. But on your Twitter, Stormlight Archive got 41%.
Yeah.
Which I expected. The Expanse came in second with 23.
I was shocked it was in dead last earlier.
Yeah.
I mean,
Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn had 20, and then Malazan at 15. Malazan is a tricky one. I can't comment too much on it. I think it's a very important series, but there's a lot of caveats with that, and it is a big time investment as well. Lost in Discovery says Stormlight should be everyone's top priority. Damn.
Wow.
Red Rising is definitely there. Lightbringer, the ending isn't great. That's what I've heard. I've heard the opening were 2 of the best fantasy books of all time, but it kind of flunked out at the ending. Apparently the author found Jesus and then totally reversed all of his magic system in his books to reflect religion or something, which is a terrible decision to do. But I'm going to throw a poll up here because we could go on and on and on, right? The great thing about Hob, though, they're separate-ish trilogies. You aren't locked into a 16 books all at once. Yeah, it's true. And Ryan Copeland says Malazan is his number 1. I'm excited to see what I end up with Malazan when I read it. But I created a straw poll, and I'm going to put it here in chat. And I do encourage everyone to go and vote. Now, this does not mean that Ez is going to do whatever we say. Ez is an independent thinker. He's his own man.
I'm going to get in there and vote myself, if that's okay.
I think that's fine. I'm actually going to cast a vote, too, and then I'll never tell anybody what I voted. But I am curious to see what our audience thinks here, and I am now currently watching the polls. I think it's working. Let's see. Hob and Gwen is telling me. Lady Sarah, knowing you and knowing that you love Stephen King and stuff, I think John Gwynne would absolutely blow your mind, and I also think Robin Hobb would. The thing about Hobb is you just got to be ready that Assassin's Apprentice starts off slow, but the payoffs are top notch, absolute top notch. Dandelion Dynasty, if Asian inspired fantasy, it's so awesome and it has great politics and characters. Very cool. I'll put that on my TBR. Like I said, sir, as you know, I could offer you tons of different series.
Yeah.
These are the ones I think I feel the most comfortable recommending.
Yeah, the best.
I'm not seeing any results on that poll. Are you?
No, let me click on it again here. It's probably just too fresh, but I mean, I went in here and I just kind of, let's check on the results here.
It says go to results, but I don't see. Interesting. Yeah, Poppy War is one I actually did think about as well.
Maybe you have to close. Oh, I see a few. I see a few.
Do you?
But I see 8 votes for Stormlight.
Oh, here we go. Okay,
there we go.
They're coming
Look out
in
now.
Stormlight jumping out big. Out big.
Realm of the Elderlings. Okay.
I will be very surprised if The Faithful and the Fallen doesn't give a pretty good, because it depends on who's watching. But
wow. And really, this comes down to like, what do I want to read first? Like, kind of what am I going into next? Because I'm hearing all of these are good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm realizing that all of these are really things that I'd be highly interested in, and I would like to talk about and make connections with. So this is huge. Yeah,
and you know what the nice thing is that you can put them all in the TBR and then knock them down how you see fit, right?
Because I might want to get through, some of them and say, hey, like, is this one we want to go back and make some content on? Like, I might need to check out a few of the series and say, because let me tell you right now, and Sir Matt knows this, and you know this, I blitz through series. It's just, I got a 50-minute drive to work, to and fro. And I literally that's what I do in the morning. If I'm not listening to a podcast, I'm listening to an audio book. And then once you get going, you come home, you were listening to that chapter. Well, you got to finish that chapter. And then sometimes the next chapter takes over and you're just like, wow, here we go. It's midnight and I got to get up for work in the morning. And I've been listening, doing laundry, to all these different book series. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I've been hesitant, but now it's go time. It's go time, baby.
It's time to read. It's time to put down the fork and read it, as a famous man once said.
Let's go.
Let's go. Now, I will say, just based on what I know, I feel like I have a pretty good gauge on what gets you pumped up. Listening probably thousands of hours of you podcasting. I think Stormlight, it has an incredible ceiling for you to make content on, and that would be excellent. I think Memory of Sorrow and Thorn is a very untapped resource for content. And Realm of the Elderlings. I think those three are going to provide you the most content. Now, I will say The Faithful and the Fallen has some amazing history and lore in it. It isn't as deep, like with theory crafting and stuff, I wouldn't say, but you could make so many lore videos. Like the giant clans, like there's 4 or 5 different giant clans, and there's a huge issue with that history that they kind of address at the end of the series. That's just mind-blowing to me, of what happened to the Giant King and all this kind of stuff. So
let's go.
I mean, The Faithful and the Fallen is absolutely something you could not. I know you can knock it out in a week or two, and you would love it. If we're doing graphic novels, I've actually never done a graphic novel. Watchmen, very interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've just in Star Wars, I've done graphic novels and things like that. But yeah, interesting.
So I DNF'd Malice. I know I'm an idiot. No, you're not. It's not for everybody. And I will say Malice is the worst book of the 7, and I still think it's a really good book, but Valor is an absolute upgrade to that. But if you didn't like it, I mean, that's fine. That's totally fine. Hey, go ahead.
So you've not read the Malazan Book of the Fallen?
I have not. Now it's something I'm working up to. I really wanted to clean off my TBR because it's like Wheel of Time. Whenever you
do it finished?
Yeah, it's finished, and they're still adding. There's other books you can read with it, but the 10-book series is done. Like the main series is done.
Okay.
So, one sec. I'm typing back to Nexus here. He asked if I.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Because I looked this up. Malazan Book of the Fallen. I just kind of read some stuff the other day, but when I posted the poll, I had heard about this, and I don't know. I've heard different things. It's almost one of the more intriguing ones because it seems kind of Some people love it. Some people are like, what? I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really get a good vibe. Like everything else, I get a good sort of vibe from your viewers, the comments, you, other friends on these book series with Robin Hobb and Tad Williams. I don't know. I'm just
so Malazan is also. I mean, if you want to talk about a content pool, Malazan's maybe number one out of them all. The two channels I recommend the most for Malazan that I'm aware of are Andy Smith and Rid. Rid was here in chat. I don't know if she's still here, but they have made some really excellent videos on the series and getting into the series and what to expect and what not to expect and kind of dispelling some of the rumors. So the thing with Malazan that I find interesting is that the books are almost standalones. Like you can read them and then each book has a totally different cast of characters and then they kind of intertwine as they go on, right?
Okay.
Which does make it a huge commitment because you might fall in love with the character and not see them for 3 or 4 books, but you've read Wheel of Time, so you know all about that, right?
Yeah.
Malazan is supposed to be a postmodernism take on Lord of the Rings, from what I understand, and it's about empathy and morale and handling these awful situations. I know there's a ton of magic. And restricting magic and using it for gain is like the power over controlling the magic is very big in Malazan. The other thing about Malazan is that it's not your typical story where you get inside the character, you get inside Tyrion's head and you know what Tyrion's thinking.
Sure.
The characterization is done in a totally different fashion. And I actually mentioned this in a book review I just did. I filmed today that I'll be posting this weekend in Emberblade because it does the same thing. And it talks about characterization through watching people in a scenario. So you get thrown in the deep end and they don't explain anything. Like you open up the series and people are they're in the middle of a war. They're getting killed.
Sure. They're talking.
There's people being possessed. There's people being taken prisoner. I know a little bit about the first book and you have to figure out how you feel about a character or what their morals are through the reaction that they give to the conflict. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so
sir.
Instead of
indirect characterization. Yes,
exactly. So for me as a reader, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot of exposure to that. So Malazan is going to be a broadening of my abilities as a reader in my comprehension. And I think that's really cool. It doesn't have to be your cup of tea, but it's good to know that that is a form of characterization that is valid in storytelling today. And Malazan really goes with that approach. And also, again, kind of talks about the questioning of power and who controls that power, what constitutes the power. And it's really, from what I understand, it's very hard to pitch, but from what I understand, it's all about the postmodernism take on Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's one of those things that I think eventually I would like to read it. Eventually. I don't know if it's the most interesting thing that I want to get into right now. And it seems kind of maybe heavy. And I'm seeing that it's quite a bit of a commitment. And I don't know. I do like a series where I connect with the protagonist right away and then boom, we're drawn in. So if you shift around a lot on me, you really have to stick with it. Although I am pretty good at like keeping up with the series on an initial read and trying to gain a lot from it and pick up on the clues and stuff. I like that challenge. You know what I mean? I like the challenge of trying to say, what is going on here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Someone said Malazan's a very refreshing read, and someone said it has the best world building of all time, which I've actually also heard. I mean, I've heard there's nothing on this scale. Wheel of Time's not on it. Like this is the biggest scale there is in fantasy.
Seriously?
So what you just said is true. It is a challenge. You like to be challenged. Well, this is the challenge. It's just going to be very different because you're thrown in the deep end. You're jumping around.
Watch out now. You're careful now. You're stoking
a virus.
Look out now. Because I don't know. I like to just I like the simplicity of, I mean, gosh, we went all the way from Chronicles of Narnia to Lord of the Rings to all these different series, and I just it just depends on the mood, right? Sometimes you like to be taken away, just magically epic on an epic level, and it's easy, it's simple, it hits you, and all the emotions hit. And then you also at that level where you want to explore, you want to say, hold on a second, I'm going to go back and reread that in the midst of an initial read. You say it's so intriguing that I want to go back and check something real quick. Yeah. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but for me, sometimes in a book series, when I'm reading through or listening, and I go, wait a second, I got to get this right. I got to get this down because I know something's up here, and I go back. Now people might think that's crazy, but that's kind of how I am. I want to know everything. I try to pick up on everything that comes.
Well, I will say, Malazan, you have to be comfortable not knowing what's going on. That's one thing I've heard. So that
challenging.
Now, someone did say something very interesting in chat, and I like this description. It says, for Malazan, imagine a series on World War II where book 1 is the Eastern Front, book 2 is Africa, book 3 is the Eastern Front, 4 is Africa, 5 is the fall of France, and then it all kind of comes together. I mean, that's a very good pitch to me.
Okay.
So if you want epic urban fantasy, Paternus Trilogy by Dirk Ashton. Yeah, I've heard that's really good. The final battle is really epic. I've also heard that you mix in large scale with non-linear degrees. Erickson does it. The story can get kind of hard to read, for lack of a better phrase. Yeah, I've heard that as well. And Sir Matt said Dune, and that is never a bad pick. I'll be reading Dune here soon on the channel. And there's a movie coming out for Dune, and they said they want to make that they want to continue that.
Do they really? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sir Matt also had another good one. He says The Witcher. The Witcher series is on my list for sure. I'm interested to see how I do with that, because I do love the games. I enjoyed the show, but I love the games, and I'm curious to see if the books will hook me as well. Someone also recommended Will White's Cradle series, which I have heard very good things about. It was a self-published author, I believe, and there's 8 books, and they're very quick, and I've heard that they're just thrilling reads. Very thrilling. You're going to have to comb back through these and write all these down. So
I am. I'm actually pulling up tabs as we speak, and I'm just getting all these, kind of posted. This is sick. This is actually awesome. Yeah, actually, I had thought about Dune there for a while, because when that was coming out, I was what is it, Quinn's Ideas, right? I just being in the Game of Thrones sort of realm, I watched some of his videos, and he's a big Dune guy, and I thought, well, okay, that's it. I watched the old Dune movie, and it was pretty bizarre.
It's a weird one.
Like
weird one.
I am down. I'm down. So I also, by the way, too, I think he gave Matt a lot of credit there. He was giving us the Witcher series and Dune, but he also threw out Twilight. So who is this guy?
Hey, you know what? If it's your cup of tea, it's your cup of tea.
Watch out now, Team Edward, baby.
I'm not a series shamer. Okay. We had 19 votes on that straw poll so far. I'm going to post the link one more time, just to make sure anybody who missed it would want to vote. We should have included Malazan on here. I actually hadn't really talked much about it, so I didn't get into it.
No, I think that's okay, because it seems like one of those things I don't know. I'm more. Have you read The Expanse?
Yeah, so I've read book 1, and I'm a little bit into book 2. Yes,
and you like it?
Yeah. Oh no, Daniel Abraham and Ty Franck are great. They were Gurm's assistants. You know the spiel. But Daniel Abraham wrote a series called Dagger in the Coin, which is another one I'd recommend to you, but probably later. But yeah, no, it's good. The writing's very sharp, and I think a lot of it comes across as clever on the page. The big thing about the show that does better than the books is I do think that the show brings to life some of the big epic scenes. Like, you just can't beat that shit on screen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like if you read Star Wars, but then you saw Star Wars, like, like what's going to kill you, the amazing prose or the absurd, groundbreaking special effects? It's a hard one. Oh, yeah, this is another one. Winds of the Forelands by David Biko might be another good one for you.
Just looked it up.
Yeah, I've actually heard of this. I've heard it's very good.
I mean, I hate to judge a book by its cover, but what is going on here?
Hey, you can't do that, because Hobb has some terrible covers, and she's the same.
It's a good cover. It's a good cover.
Someone said I can't recommend Malazan if I don't know them personally. That's kind of how I felt. I will be reading Malazan this year. That's happening. And I'm going to force Chris Bookish Cauldron to read it with me, damn it.
There we go.
Yeah. Jurassic Park considered fantasy? Probably. Everything's fiction, fantasy. Who cares?
Yeah.
UK Hobb covers are the best. I just got mine in the mail. Yeah, they're phenomenal. Took a long time to get here, but they're finally here. Chris Bookish calls the game on. Malazan read along. Let's go. So where are you at, Ez? How are you feeling?
I do. I want to ask you actually about a series that it's been recommended to me on an unexpected podcast. We had a lot of listeners on there reach out. I think I asked at one point early on in the podcast, and when you do something early in the podcast, you get people who backlog kind of coming through, sending you emails about it. I've gotten probably over 15 people telling me to read The King Killer. Is it The King Killer?
Yeah, King Killer Chronicle, the other unfinished series that hasn't had a book in 10 years.
Yeah, I'm like, guys, I don't think I can. I need books to come out. I need the story to continue. So I'm already dealing with George R. R. Martin. I'm not so sure.
That's where I'm at. And you know
Yeah.
what? I know I'm gonna like King's Killer. Apparently his prose is top level. Just some of the little things that I know about the series, I can tell it's gonna be a home run with me. But you know what? I have a shred of optimism left for the Winds of Winter. I can't share it with the book 3. If book 3 gets announced, I will go through King's Killer and I'll do all that stuff. But
right.
Then I'm gonna stick with one unfinished series that's probably never gonna be finished, and that is A Song of Ice and Fire. Now, I will say this: I've heard that the theory crafting for King's Killer Chronicles is phenomenal.
Really?
Yes, because the whole idea is the story takes place over 3 days, and they're waiting for the day 3 book. Yeah, that's it. And here's the crazy thing.
Shut your mouth.
Here's the other thing about King's Killer. That's crazy. Apparently, it's just a story about stories. Like,
yes, I've actually started it. To be honest with you, I've started it, and yeah, and I was confused at first. I was like, where are we? What are we doing here? This is just I'm with a guy who's getting a drink from a dirty glass, and he's telling a story, and like everything seems to be like this thing happened that set me up for. It seems like we're in a 3, like you said, I didn't know it was 3 days, but it seems like we're in an epic moment. Something's about to take place. I just could not. I couldn't keep up at the time. I don't know what it was. I lost interest and I stopped. And then I've got tons of people telling me to get back into it. And I'm like, I need more understanding. I know in a lot of fantasy series, and like you said, some of them are slow starters, some of them, and you have to be into that. You have to be like, I'm going to be the guy that like sees this through. And I know something's coming. And it's just like, which chapter is it that's going to be like, bam, inciting incident. Let's drive forward. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting though. Now you've got me more intrigued.
That one's on the radar. Yeah. And Chris Booker's Cauldron has a good point. And I've actually heard this from other people. He said, King's Killer Chronicles actually doesn't bother me that it's not finished because I read them more for the character and the writing than the story, but I might be alone in that opinion. You are definitely not alone. I've heard that from multiple people. And there are people who read it hundreds of times because apparently Patrick's writing is just, that good. Some people Tad Williams and Hobbs. So there's some people saying don't rate it because it's not finished. Gentleman Bastard series is very good as well. Haven't seen anyone mention it yet. Yes, I think that is unfinished as well. Is that Scott Lynch? Is that The Lies of Locke Lamora? I might be getting it mixed up with. No, I'm thinking Black Hunt Me by Glenn Cook. Yeah, I have heard Gentleman's Bastards is amazing. But again, it's another series that we're kind of waiting on to see what happens. It's 10 out of 10 theory crafting. Also, the way Pat writes really lends itself to theory crafting. Love it. So does George, and that's something that me and Ez definitely love.
Yeah.
It's like Brad Pitt down bad telling you a story.
All right.
I love this, man. Name of the Wind is top notch. Yeah, I've always heard it's an amazing, but there's some people who don't love it, but yes, it's unfinished. Gentleman Bastards is unfinished. And Scott Lynch.
Do we know in the chat? I don't know if anyone knows. Like, is it supposed to be how long is it a trilogy? Is it supposed to be for King Killer?
It's supposed to be a trilogy, and I believe he wrote like a side book here. Real quick to note, I guess Gentleman Bastards is actually just a standalone, so it being unfinished isn't that big of a deal. So that's kind of cool. So we're waiting on book 3 for Doors of Stone, and maybe someone in chat can tell me this. I've heard that there was a picture of his manuscript done, like he had pages stacked, and people thought it was going to the presses. And then his editor came out like a couple months back and said, I haven't heard from Patrick in years. Which is very discouraging, by the way.
What in the...
Say what you will for Germ, but Germ has always been in contact with his editors. They're very close friends. But I don't know if that's... Does anyone know that? Was that picture of the manuscript real?
Now, Jimmy, George has been in contact with his publisher for years. Not about Winds of Winter, though. Like
for the next wild cards, really.
They're going out for dinner and stuff, but it'll mean I'm kidding. Let him finish it. I'm a big fan of George.
Oh God, no. All those series were published in 2011. Is this a conspiracy? Yes, to break my fucking heart. Sorry for the language. I apologize. Did you reckon King Killer 3 is actually ever going to come out? I don't know enough about Patrick's creative workflow. I've seen him do live streams for charity recently where it seems like, I mean, he's at least thinking about it, but who knows?
You know, hey, so you were asking me, and before I took us down that King Killer avenue there,
The King Killer hole.
Yeah, you were asking me about just where I'm at so far. I want to take us back to something real quick. So Brandon Sanderson is one of when I read The End of Wheel of Time, I didn't even, to be honest with you, it still felt like Wheel of Time to me. I didn't know all of the stuff, how he was picked. I wasn't there yet. So I just was blitzing through. And Memory of Light was recently finished up, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I went to Mistborn simply because I was on Audible, and the same guy who reads that, I forget his name, is also the reader for Mistborn. I said, recommend me. Let's go. I said, Brandon Sanderson. I said, Mistborn, here we go.
Yeah, and something. I can't remember his name at the top of my
head.
Michael Keaton. No.
Kramer. I think it's
Michael Kramer. Michael Kramer.
Yeah.
And then Kate Redding. Yeah.
Yes, Kate Redding. Yes.
Yep.
And so I drove right into Mistborn. Fantastic. I don't know that I like the end of the third book, really. I was a little thrown off by that. I didn't know where we were going. It was interesting. I don't know. Did you like the end of Mistborn, the Mistborn trilogy?
Okay. So
are we allowed to do spoilers here? Are we so no, we shouldn't, but it was.
So here's the thing. And I got a lot of flack for this and a lot of hateful messages, but I don't like Mistborn. I liked book one. I thought the end of book one, which I won't spoil. I thought book one was awesome. The writing was I didn't like the writing, but I thought the plot was awesome. Okay. I think Will of Ascension is one of my least favorite books I've ever read. That's not a popular thing. I probably just lost like 20 subs. I mean, I had people literally message me and tell me I was an idiot. So,
well, I mean, come on.
His fans are very diehard, and I respect that. I did not care that book 3 was fine, but the whole ending, I just didn't. I don't know. I was gone. Book 2 lost me. Book 2 lost me.
It was intriguing. I mean, I just did. It was a lot.
Ambitious.
Said that,
it was
right?
ambitious.
I just like the ending of book 3. It was a lot. I don't know that we can maybe get into spoilers, but I think a part of me wants to push through and see what the rest of the Mistborn stuff is, especially if it's a tie-in. I feel like I'm a little bit in that verse. You know, I feel like I'm a little bit in the verse. And so I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that was going to be somewhat connected. So I'm sitting here going, I'm already a little in, so
I will say this, Brandon Sanderson rewards you for reading his work. I mean, he puts out multiple books a year. The guy's a machine. When people tell me Brandon Sanderson is his favorite author, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, he deserves to be people's favorite author. He puts in the work. Do I think his writing is the most stimulating of all time? Absolutely not. Do I think he has some amazing plot? Yeah, he does. And his character work has gotten much better over time. And I do think that Stormlight is a huge upgrade, even though I wasn't huge on Rhythm of War. Noelle, I'm sorry. She said Will of Ascension is my favorite out of the 3. A lot of people feel that way. A lot of people really like the thing with, I think his name was Zane. I can't remember now. And Ellen and Vin. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
Also, they were stuck in one place the whole time, which I'm not a fan of. Which is another thing that kind of happens in Stormlight at some point.
It did have me up until the very end going, what is going to happen?
Yes, and he's good at that.
So I had to finish it. I'll give him that. I had to get to the end, and I'm like, really? Really, that's where we're at with this. And then knowing that you were going to do a time jump and we're going to pick up in that same world and same verse. I was like, okay, I mean, I'm still here and I did finish it. So I didn't give up on it. And I liked a lot of the characters and I was driving through to the end there. I mean, it had me hooked, really intriguing. Just didn't see that ending coming. And I was like, wow.
I have a little bit of fear with Stormlight that it might get to that weird point.
Oh no.
I mean, I'm just being honest. Rhythm, but again, I'm in the minority here, and I didn't think Rhythm of War was a terrible book. Okay, I thought Rhythm of War was a great Stormlight book and a good book overall. And again, I'm the minority. I want to stress that very much. And if you think that's a great book, that's fine. But Brandon Sanderson is not afraid to get weird. And it
which
got a little
cool. I like
cool. It's ambitious and I love it. And he's very, very original. I saw someone also put in there. They said they've never read Brandon. They don't like PG-13 fantasy. I don't know if that does him justice because Stormlight does some amazing things with commentary about mental illness that no other series is willing to tackle. It's the most inclusive fantasy series of all time and the most broad when it comes to characters and the backgrounds that they come from, which I think is just, amazing. It was the end that I loved the best. The end of Will of Ascension did save that book, by the way. That's why I went on to book 3. I will say that the end
Sure.
of the Will of Ascension,
Yes.
phenomenal plot. I mean,
ending. Yes. Yeah.
There's probably nobody doing plots better than Brandon Sanderson. I'll be honest.
Which is cool. That's a big game right there.
He feels new
important.
and refreshing. Again, I have no problem people saying his favorite author at all. The only thing I kind of get upset about if I do have any critique, I feel like I just get basted, on PMs. It's bad. So that's the only thing but that's not that guy's fault. It's just some people really have an emotional tie to it. Love the side characters. Only 4. Yeah. In so many words, the finished Farseer trilogy, 14% into live ships. I'm so hooked. Robin Hobb is a goddess. I've read for Sanderson too. Try Farseer if you love character work. I would agree with Mr. Panther 54. I will say when I read from R.L. Stine, I literally get goosebumps. Let's go, Sir Matt. Let's go.
He's unreal. We get that guy out of here. I mean, yeah, it's great for the kiddos.
The
great.
Sander Lynch is cool. So going back to what you said, you feel like you're kind of bought in to the Cosmere. I mean, if you're willing to go and you say, okay, Stormlight's not finished. When I read all 4 books, I'm going to go back and read his other works that tie into the Stormlight series. There will probably be no more rewarding universe experience than that in fantasy. So there is absolutely a case for that. That's why I think Stormlight and Realm are pretty close. I mean, there's a lot of content there, and I know you're going to want to talk about it. You're going to make videos.
Oh, I am. Yeah,
either one of those would be great.
What about what's the anticipated duration of Stormlight? Is he talking about like what he wants it to? I've heard Wheel of Time level, but I don't know what that means,
Yeah. So the thing about that is, he released the book about I think it's 2 to 4 years. Usually it's like 3 to 4. There's going to be 10 books and the first 5 are their own arc. So it's 2 arcs combined into a 10-book series.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So think about George when he wanted to do time jump and he didn't do it. I think that's what we're going to see here. Now, the interesting thing is book 4 just released. So that means in about 3 years, we're going to get book 5. And everyone's crafting theories about what's going to happen in this book 5. That's supposed to be the end of the first arc of Stormlight.
Okay.
So again, there's a lot of room for speculation. Wow. There's a lot of room.
Get in there.
Someone said it'll be finished in 2040, I reckon. And I actually know. I think that's actually the date. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I will be 50 years old.
Let's go.
Holy shit. I'll be 50 cracking open this 300,000 page tome. Just
isn't it great though?
That is the thing. I
love it.
Again, book 4 wasn't my favorite, but I'm going to read every single Stormlight book.
Yeah.
Because it's an event. Like it was the first
that's
time.
What I like about that. Yeah, I do.
It was the first time for a book release because I've recently got back into reading. It's the first time since Harry Potter where the book release felt like a social event.
That's right. Yep.
And that's important. Now there have been books that were released I went and got or ordered, but when I'm talking about actually when I got to the store, there were people in line holding it. This is big. This is big. Right. This is genre bending or getting bigger than the genre.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said to get into the hype of a series. I mean, it is fun. That's why we're all here in this chat talking tonight. You're on a Friday night kicking it because we like to get hyped up about stuff we like to read.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuart Carver. What in the world? By 2040, Winds of Winter still won't be out.
Hey, you take that shit elsewhere. No, I'm just kidding.
Get that out of here. Oh, probably true. Probably true. Wow. No, I totally agree with you though, because I remember the days of Harry Potter, the book coming out, waiting in line at Barnes and Noble, doing the whole thing. I remember even Sir Matt, like out in Portland, reading it, like telling me about it, texting. Yeah, it's cool. Like you want that kind of hype, and I love that Brandon's someone who you can get behind. I really hope the Wheel of Time show actually will send more people to his series because he is the end author on that, and he did help bring that to a conclusion, which is fantastic because he himself was such a great fan and just devoted to the series. So I would love to see his stuff get more attention because I think he's a good guy. And not that any of these other authors weren't, they totally are from everything that I've researched. But yeah, well, maybe not. Yeah. But you know what I mean? I like getting behind something and saying, when's the release date? Let's go get it. Let's read it first. Let's get after it. Let's talk with people. I think it's cool.
Lady just said Team 2022, right? As for wins a winner. You know what? Whatever. Hey, why not? Why not? We got nothing to lose.
Mark my words. 2022.
Lord of Scrolls, an Elder Scrolls novel, is actually really good. Takes place after Oblivion, but before Skyrim. Dude, I think that the lore in Skyrim is amazing. I love Elder Scrolls. Absolutely love it. And Matt knows this, and this is a fun fact for all you in the chat. I assume most of you have played Skyrim. Did you know that Skyrim was supposed to be a Song of Ice and Fire game?
He's told me that. I love that. When he said that, I would have never played. Shut your mouth. I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And it is good. I played it. Like, again, he's the video game expert, but like, he's gotten me when we lived together back in the condo. I watched him. I played it myself, tried it. It's a lot. Video games, man. I
game a lot less now. I read more now.
Me too. But like, God, I would just.
Gods, I was a gamer then.
Gods, I was a gamer back in the day.
And also, just to be clear for everyone in the chat, the one true king is sitting right back there on my wall. That's King Bobby.
I saw that.
Baratheon. We here at Fantasy Network, we're Baratheon loyalists. Okay, no dragons, no kitty cat lions.
He won the throne.
The crowned.
Let's go.
Stag. Let's go.
That's right.
So we have another plus to Stormlight. Even though it is epic fantasy, it also requires almost no effort for the reader's part. It's surprisingly straightforward. That's due to Sanderson's plotting and also, I think, his prose. And that is a good point. I mean, it makes rereads a lot easier. Again, you're not going to get like, I don't think a single word choice like George is known for. I've seen Tad do it, and apparently Hob also does this. Like how we clomb over every word George uses.
Absolutely,
you're not going to get that from Sanderson, but he is so good at plotting that you can read something 3 or 4 times and be like, "What is that?" And then he has a lot of riddles in there. There's a character called Wit, who is a world hopper through the Cosmere that shows up in Stormlight that says a lot of riddles, which is cool.
Now, hold on. You're getting me confused here. You've got wit and wit. All right. And Farsi or what's I'm kidding. Okay.
But you're retaining, so this is important.
That's it. Right.
Ian, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Ian, it says Red Rising, which I've also heard is fantastic. I've heard it starts off a little general, but then it blossoms into an amazing sci-fi series. That is one I hope to read this year. Might be 2022 though. God, we're in 2021 already.
So,
Go listen to Maluka's version of the Dragonborn comes. Hell yeah.
Good stuff.
Based on blood. Ours is the Fury. Oh yeah, we got Baratheon loyalists in the chat. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm about to go up to King's Landing. God damn. First book is Superman. Yeah,
dude, I don't know, man. Every time I see the cover, the dragon bone chair. Every time I see it,
man. You like it? You like it, right?
I do. I sit here and I go, that right there looks like a fantasy book to me.
It's going to be a home run. If you decide to read Dragonbone Chair, it's going to be a home run with you. It is Tolkien. It's how we got from Tolkien to George R.R. Martin. He is rich, and it's a shame that people don't recognize that more, because without Tad, a lot of people wouldn't have picked up the pen. Patrick Rufus has said that Tad Williams was instrumental in him to begin writing. I know John Gwen was heavily influenced by him at some points, I believe anyways. I got that when I read Faithful in the Fall, and I said, oh, this feels like the new age Memory, Sorrow, Thorn, which a lot of people say, oh, A Song of Ice and Fire and Faithful in the Fallen are connected. And I do think there's relevancy to that, but I actually feel like it's more of a more modern day Memory, Sorrow, Thorn. You would love it. It's Tolkien-esque. It has songs in it that aren't terrible. Unlike Lord of the Rings, who have terrible songs. And I think Tad's writing would really resonate with you as you being an English expert. So
yeah, I'm down. Yeah, it looks really cool. Wow, man.
Harry Potter was a phenomenon. Yeah, it was. And I again, I mean, there's an epic scale. You could read Stormlight, get caught up, get some stuff, and then read something else, or you could read Dragonbone Chair and get through that. The cool thing about Tad Williams is he did Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, and now he has a second trilogy that should be ending next year. His final book got pushed back. That's set in the Ostenard lands, so it's still in the same universe.
Same universe.
And I've heard it's really, really good. So I'm pretty excited. I think Benebek is one of my favorite characters in all fantasy. He is a troll from the first. From Dragonbone Chair, and he has his own language, and he becomes a friend of Simon, and Benebek is phenomenal.
So yeah, everyone, I mean, see, when you look at comments, right, you're trying to weigh your decision. Sanderson, great, awesome, right? Can't go wrong there. But you reach another level when people talk about Tad Williams, which I think is really interesting, even other authors. And I'm like, as I look up reviews on him, I'm like, this might be something to just do a trilogy and then pop into something that is you know, something like Stormlight where I want to make content or you want to do something like that. But Tad Williams might just be something I want to read just to read, you know, I just really enjoy.
And you can make content. I mean, there's a lot of lore there and a lot. I mean, I think the world building's just as good as Wheel of Time or anything else. I mean, I truly think it's one of the best series of all time. Someone actually, Ryan Copeland said, Memory Star and Thorn is fantastic. Tad Williams is one of the greatest fantasy writers to have laid pen upon paper. I couldn't agree more. The way that gentleman writes, no word is wasted. The word choice is just, I mean, it's chef's kiss. It's phenomenal. I can't be more positive on Tad Williams. I really couldn't.
Yeah. All right. Because I've kind of got it down between I've always heard good stuff about Farseer too. So Farseer with Robin Hobb, and then that's Robin Hobb, right? Yeah. And then Tad Williams. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And then definitely Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight. That's kind of where, I don't know which order, but those three seem to be where I'm narrowing in on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I think if I take all my selfishness out of this, I could definitely, all three are going to be a major hit. I think Memory Star, knowing how much you love Tolkien, I think Memory Star and Thorn is a more digestible version of what Tolkien did, and with a lot of the modern subverts that we've now seen with George's writing. And a lot of it does feel like the first book, you're going to go, oh, I see where George pulled that from, which is really cool. That is so cool to see some of our favorite authors have an influence from a past author. And Tad Williams has some other stuff. I'm reading a book called The War of the Flowers, which is a standalone portal fantasy, and I physically cried 3 chapters in. I mean, that's how good Tad is. Tad can grab you and he can twist you and pull you in certain directions that he wants to. And he's just, he's a master with the pen, man. He really is. He understands conflict probably better than any other fantasy writer that I've read, maybe other than Robin Hobb. The thing about Tad and Robin Hobb, they both do this very well. No decision goes unpunished. So every single little micro decision that you have on your hero's journey has repercussions. You know what I mean? And you see that with Rand in Wheel of Time. Rand sometimes has to make a big decision, or he takes a big, like what happens over Falm, right? I mean,
that's right.
That ended up having negative consequences for Perrin and some other stuff. And that is something that is kind of explored in Wheel of Time, a little bit in Song of Ice and Fire. But I think Hobb and Tad have made their craft around consequences, which then makes the conflict much more based in reality. And I think that's when we can connect, we get in.
That's a good point.
Being immersed in a story is being able to connect with the conflict in the characters. So
yeah. If you're immersed in it and you witness those consequences right in the story, well then heck yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, you know, we're in like, oh shoot, can't believe that happened. And then what are we going to do about that? Or what, you know, are our characters going to experience? Yeah.
Oh man, I see people on the side talking about me doing ASMR with that. I mean, this is
now.
This is super fun. Now. This is super fun.
Dude, this is so much fun, man. This is cool. I'm telling you right now, I love what you do on this channel, and I'm telling you, this is sick. More people need to just like be subscribed, get into this stuff. That bookshelf is full of great books back there. All right, which you need to explore. You've read them, but we might need to re-explore them, and we may need to dig deeper and pick a series and go after it. I mean,
I would do any of these series on a read along with you if you wanted to do that. And we got to convince Sir Matt. Sir Matt said he told me, he said, I don't have any more bandwidth, and I understand he's a busy man. Lady Teresa's a handful.
Yeah, she yeah.
She's a wonderful.
No, she is.
She keeps
And here's the thing is I feel like, you know, with speaking of, shout out to Sir Matt. I mean, like, again, doing, we already do. Thank you, by the way, for letting me say all these things and come on your channel. I really appreciate this. This is huge.
Anytime.
To do those different things and to be in, like, the more you're into book series and you're diving into the details and really getting into making those connections and stuff, wow, it can get dense. And your mind can get just sort of like taken away with all of the trying to keep all the connections and stuff just in there. So I feel like I've really he's in Wheel of Time right now, and we might need to wait till he gets out of Wheel of Time and then just gather him up and take him right along into one of these series, whatever it may be. I think by the end he's gonna be like, Wheel of Time is sick. Brandon Sanderson, hook me up, baby. I think he's going to say that. I think he's going to be like, give me Mistborn, something easy to chew on, And then he's going to say, what are you guys into? Stormlight. Let's go.
I
think he'll say it. I really think he will. And I
always appreciate Sir Matt's takes. I don't know. You guys have a really good, and I keep putting over the shows, but I really mean it. I mean, you guys have just such a good dynamic between, and it's because you guys are best friends. I mean, and it feels like when
authentic, honest. Yeah.
When I hear it, I feel like I'm hanging out with my friends, and now I am, which is crazy.
You are, buddy. You are, exactly.
Faithful in the Fallen. So people are talking about Faithful in the Fallen, and I got to tell you, Faithful in the Fallen is some of the most heartbreaking moments, but also some of the most awe-inspiring moments. The whole mantra of Faithful in the Fallen and the Banished Land saga is truth and courage. Truth and courage. And when they bellow that out and they're running into a field of demons with angels at their, I'm getting goose on my hair is raising.
Dude, let's go.
Because when the bright star comes, the Kadoshim will fall. Let's go.
Dude, I have no idea what you're saying, but I will raise a banner to that. I will get behind that. It just sounds sick. It sounds sick, you know.
I mean, if you're looking to get something through something real quick, I'm telling you what.
Really?
Faithful in the Fallen's up there. I kind of want you to read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn first, though. And the reason why is because I do feel like the Faithful in the Fallen was heavily derived from Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Like, again, it felt like another level up on it, kind of.
Sure.
And Matt said the Maze Runner. I actually like the first Maze Runner movie. I never read the books. The second Maze Runner movie, terrible.
You know, ironically, here's the crazy thing. I want to interject here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So being a high school teacher, I've like a lot of the book series I haven't brought up are all those ones that are made movies out of, like Divergent, The Maze Runner. God, what's the one? Hunger Games. Percy Jackson. Those are the things I have to read as a teacher that I read through with a class, and then we do some stuff, you know, and we read our classical Shakespeare. We read our Of Mice and Men, you know, Night by Elie Wiesel. We do the whole
Great Gatsby,
exactly, the whole thing. And so those are all really great. So I have read all of those, and you know, I like that. But I'm like getting into epic fantasy and just getting into some of this. This is. It's where it's at. I mean, I love all of those. I love all of those like recommendations, and I love sort of the dystopia, you know, dystopian sort of future, I don't know, setting, or that's cool. I like that. But take me somewhere where they are wielding magic and magical swords.
That's right.
Give
me the earth magic.
It's on.
No. I mean, there's something to be said about the way that fantasy can teach us stuff about ourselves. And when I hear people say, you know, oh, you read fantasy, they almost roll their eyes. Like, I only read nonfiction. Let me tell you something. Having read 50-some books last year, I learned more about myself and my shortcomings from reading very uncomfortable things like Joe Abercrombie's First Law, and even reading A Song of Ice and Fire and things like this. Whenever you see, you start to realize what you like about characters and what you don't. And then you start to reflect on the things about yourself that you see in those characters, for good and bad. And I think that it can really apply to becoming a better person. And also, at the end of the day, these books, and someone said about Faithful in the Fallen, it's about friendship. It's about finding hope when there is no hope left. And isn't that what we did this past year during all the crazy stuff in the world? Did we not call the banners? Absolutely. Did we not pull together and talk about the fantasy and the literature that we love? This is what life's all about, folks. This is it. This is it. Yeah. This is what I love to do.
Yeah. You can gain a lot. There's so much you can do. You can escape, and then you come back with new skills. I mean, literally, it's a chance to go and level up and come back again and say, it's time. It's time to take over.
Right. You know, it's all about the friends we made along the way.
Friendship is magic.
That's right, man. Hey, Mr. Panther says, I'm a teacher too. Social studies. Cheers.
Yes. Man. Shout out to him. That's awesome.
So Ezra, as a teacher, what do you think the impact is of fantasy on like the young kids? Like, do they know what Lord of the Rings is? Like, do they still, like, when I was in school, I read it, right? But like, do the kids still know that?
Honestly, that is one that has gone to the back shelf a little bit, and I'm not like, and it's not, I know that, gosh, it's hard to, it's still, there are kids who are intrigued by it. The movie, I think having the movies still gets kids going, wow, what is this? I want to get into it. I think the TV show, when the Amazon TV show comes out, I think it will take people right back there, even maybe as far as into the Silmarillion. I think that'd be fantastic. But what's encouraging is I have, I have students in my book club right now who are in the Wheel of Time and talking to me about the TV show that's coming out. And I'm thinking, this is literally a pathway for you to get into all these other series that we have just talked about. And I love that for kids, because I really think reading can do so much for a person, and it can really, it just show. I mean, you're walking in, whether it's first person, third person, whatever it is, you are in someone else's shoes, and you're experiencing a world and challenges, and trying to overcome those, and seeing. I don't know, it just makes you look at things from different perspectives, and I think it's good for all of us to really do that. I think we need more of that in the day and age we live in.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And, I will say this. I think one of the big steps in the fantasy genre that it's taking right now is that it is more inclusive. We have more people, different looking protagonists, right? One of the best protagonists I've ever read was a Dagger and Coin series by Daniel Abraham, and the main character is named Kithrin, and she's essentially an orphan that gets raised by a merchant, and she goes from being a really crappy bank teller essentially to running she's basically running the economy that's fueling a war against this religion that has become very dogmatic. And she's a very flawed character. She's not, your typical, like, either goody two shoes girl or a girl that happens to be a badass. She's like somewhere in between, and she's just smart, but she's also flawed, right? She's kind of an alcoholic. And it's like one of the best, characters I've read, and you would not have gotten that 10, 20, 30 years ago in the fantasy genre. So the next step is representation for all different types of walks of life. And that is one thing I have to give Brandon Sanderson a lot of credit for, is that he has made fantasy available to a lot of people, not just with his character work and everything, but also with his writing, because it is so approachable. That's one of the reasons, dumb it down, make the dollars, as Jay-Z once said. And it applies to fantasy as well. So I knock Sanderson's writing a little bit in my own head, but I never really publicly say too much more about it, because I do think that it makes it more approachable. And I guarantee you, if you're still teaching in 5 years, you'll probably be a millionaire off the Wheel of Time podcast by that point when the show blows up. But if you are still teaching, I bet in 5 years, every one of your kids that are into fantasy will have a Brandon Sanderson book in their backpack.
Yeah, I would love. Yeah, you're right about how it's readability, because I have a student right now who, honestly, I got the first book, had it on my desk, and she just took off and just like went with it, and was like, it was so good, it's so awesome. I read the most recent one. Why haven't you? Why did you stop? I thought you were going to continue. Like, and they just consume it. And again, these are kids who aren't the most advanced readers. They're still kind of, that my job is actually, I work with students who need help with reading, and we're working on things, and they listen to the audiobook and they're kind of reading along too, which is good. But I was like, wow, let's go.
Audio's changed the game too, man. I mean, again, being accessible, right? Not everybody has the ability to look down. I can't read mass market paperbacks anymore. These old peepers aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
We got some really good comments here. Matt was talking about the Dragonlance Chronicles. I had heard of that. I'm not sure too much about them. Reading teaches empathy. It absolutely does. It's definitely taught me some empathy. Hey, Joanna, how you doing? Hooray for more representation in fantasy, for sure. A reader lives 1,000 lives. One of the famous quotes from Gurm, right? His Dark Materials was one of the first for good female characters back in the 90s. I have heard that, and that's actually why I watched the TV show, because I've just heard a lot of good things about that series. Giancarlo, I hope I said that correctly. The big difference with sci-fi and fantasy, listen to this, is good. With sci-fi and fantasy is that those sword and sorcery words never age. Some sci-fi can be cool for the time, but can have technology that's pretty outdated to the future readers. I think that's actually a pretty good point. It is a timeless genre with lessons to be had for generations. Yeah. So pretty cool. Yeah. Absolutely. Hi, Joanna. And another thing, sci-fi has done some really cool stuff. Like it's weird. It's back to the tech, and this is kind of off. I'm going to go on a little bit of a sidebar here. So I read the Foundation trilogy, which, by the way, is coming out on Apple TV as a television show. It's Apple TV Plus's prime show. Like, that's their flagship. That's their Game of Thrones, will be the Foundation series. It releases this fall. So check that out. I love Isaac Asimov. I think he's a brilliant mind, but this is kind of interesting and you live in coal country out there. And I used to live out that way. So I kind of know, back in the 50s and 60s, people thought we were moving on from coal when we were going to nuclear energy. Like, that was the thing, right? And Isaac Asimov wrote Foundation in the 50s. And it's so funny because his entire expansion of the universe is all based around nuclear energy, and they're still burning coal in those books. Isn't that funny? It's just like
Wow.
now we would say, oh, the spaceship was done by solar energy or something. And it's funny because back then you could tell that they thought it was just going to be nuclear only. And obviously there's been things, but isn't that neat? Isn't that kind of a commentary? That's kind of a commentary on itself.
Sure.
Very interesting.
Yeah, kind of where you think or you foresee, because that's what you're doing with fantasy and sci-fi, right? Yeah, is thinking where we're going to go with it. What can technology? How far can we go with it? What direction are we currently headed? And then how can we extend that? And yeah,
I think that's one of the things The Expanse has done extremely well. Absolutely,
just going to say that
tremendous. They showed us the in between. Daniel Abraham said that in an interview. He said, we either see the initial contact or we see the advancement because of initial contact from aliens. We never see what happens between. We never see how that forms. And honestly, you got to think about it. So think about the Industrial Revolution, which also is a topic Joe Abercrombie covers in First Law, which I think is fantastic. But think about the Industrial Revolution. Like, there's a price for technology and people pay. And it's usually the most poor that pay, or minorities. And that is exactly what The Expanse is commenting on with the Belter Society, right? Belters are the victims of this. They're basically slaves at this point. And then you have your military state on Mars. And if you don't think that the expansion into space, if we ever do it, is not going to have those hiccups, I mean, The Expanse might be, might be the future.
Well, it seems like it's not a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's in a few years in a solar system right, here. I mean, so yeah, it's kind of wild. I love it. I thought it was really cool. I thought they, so far, and it makes me want to, I don't know if I want to just blitz through the whole TV show and then go read some of it. I think it's probably what I'm going to do. But
that's kind of where I'm at, dude. I just finished book 1, and I'll be honest, I think I'm going to watch this last season because I do know that the books diverge completely because the show is finishing up quickly. Like, there's going to be about 3 or 4 books worth of stuff that's not on the show, and the ending's going to be different. I'm going to watch the show, miss it, and then read the books, just like I did with the Song of Ice and Fire. That's my plan. That's my plan.
I think that's fine. I want to do that, actually. For once, I kind of wanted to say, you know what? Let's just enjoy a show and not have all that kind of context of like, oh, what's going on here? Or knowing this. Yeah. I just want to take me on this journey, and take me on the ups and downs, because I'm so enthralled right now with that TV show. It's awesome. The Expanse.
Mr. Panther wanted to know my thoughts on the Poppy War series. I thought the Poppy War series is one of the most unique pieces of fantasy ever. I didn't love book 1. I thought the first half of book 1 was a little too quick for me. I thought it kind of glanced over some of the point. There was like months and months and months jumped into the time periods, but after it kind of settled into the story that she wanted to tell, I thought it was awesome. And then book 2 is probably one of the best book 2s I've ever read, and I loved the finale of the Poppy War. As just so you're kind of clued in, I'm sure you haven't heard of it. It's kind of a newer series. R.F. Kuang wrote it, and she is a PhD student right now and wrote an epic fantasy trilogy, and it's Asian inspired. Okay. Yeah. And it's all a commentary on the Japanese and Chinese conflict back in the day. I don't necessarily know if it was directly in World War II, but the atrocities that happened. Yeah. And some of the stuff, I mean, it is the most grim, dark book I've ever read, I think. And the crazy thing is, the most grim pieces of action or situations that happened in the book actually happened in our real life. Like, she just used those and stuck them in the book. And it's frightening to know that actually happened. And how little do we teach of that in our schools? I'm sure you can attest to that.
No.
And it's actually, her whole idea was to inspire more people to get into Asian history and success, because I've looked more into it now, and I want more Asian inspired fantasy with that history added on to it. So the Poppy War is absolutely tremendous. And it's also for those people who don't care about all that other stuff. It's just a good series. The pace is absurd. I actually gave it to my friend who's not a huge fantasy reader, and he's reading through it right now. And he's a pretty he's a pretty edgy guy. Like, he doesn't get creeped out by a lot of stuff. And he said, dude, this book's dark. It's dark.
Really?
So that's kind of my thoughts on the Poppy War. I have a review for Poppy War on my channel if you want to check it out. It's like 18 minutes, and I actually think it's one of my best reviews. It didn't do too hot for some reason, but it's just me sitting on my love seat over here just shooting the shit, and I think it's one of my best reviews. So that's
awesome. No, I just pulled it up in a tab here, the Poppy War.
Good. Joanna said, I love the Poppy War trilogy, brings more attention to that part of history. I do too. I love history. When I'm not reading fantasy, I'm usually watching history videos. That's my thing.
Oh yeah That's awesome.
So it's pretty awesome stuff. As you got a lot to chew on after this, huh?
Man, I got like literally 15 tabs pulled up here with all sorts of different things going on. I'm sitting here because this is great though. This is really great because some stuff I had never even come across my radar is now on my radar, and it's probably back burner stuff, but that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's there, and I actually have in my notes just on my Mac. I kind of keep a running list of things that I want to get to, projects, things, whatever I want to do, and these are all going on. Just because that's the whole point is when I love a good book recommendation, and I love people who want to review a book and then talk about it. And then, because let me go back to this. I started this whole live stream with, I read The Hobbit, and I read The Hobbit because a librarian gave me a 30-second pitch, gave me a 30-second pitch on a little creature called a hobbit who finds a magical ring and steals something known as the Arkenstone from a dragon named Smaug.
Let me tell you what.
I said, let's go.
Dude, The Hobbit is timeless, man. The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I think for me, I always recommend The Hobbit over Lord of the Rings. And I actually still enjoy The Hobbit more than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Because of its simplicity.
Absolutely. Exactly. So yeah, it's great. It's great. I think I love when people want to pitch a book to you and just really, get somebody hooked in something and just,
Yeah. And you know what? It's so funny because now, we look back as an adult. Tolkien made a race of people that were the halflings are what? 2 feet tall, 2.5 feet tall.
Right. Yeah.
And they have the responsibility of the world's fate on their shoulders. Meaning quite simply that anyone can be a hero.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. And that's why I know people kind of get a little negative on Tolkien. He is dense, but he's the first person to push the genre. We owe it to him. Is
he or is he not the author of the century? Okay. I mean, which century are you talking about?
Probably. Ursula Le Guin also should be very highly regarded. And that's one I would recommend to you. Ursula Le Guin's Wizard of Earthsea. The first book is like, I want to say it's like 3 hours on audio, and it's a classic. And that is one of the biggest inspirations in the fantasy genre. And I don't think she gets enough clout.
What is it again?
Wizard of Earthsea. It's a series, but you could read the first one on Audible or listen to it rather.
There we go. Yep. Got it. Down.
I've done the 2 series because of both of you, Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to go give you more praise and to Sir Matt, if he's still here. I do credit you guys a lot because whenever I finished up Game of Thrones, or I was like getting ready for the last season, I just said I want more. Like the show is almost like I wanted to know more about the source material and all these theories, so I started reading the books and I got back into it. And hearing you and Matt dissect the books and to get so hyped at those big moments is like one of the reasons I was like, oh, reading is cool. Like reading is still something you can do and get excited about.
Yes.
It's a lot different now because we have the opportunity to talk about books with people. We've had a wonderful time tonight, even.
Absolutely.
Lady Adrian said, I've dived into 2 series because of both of you, Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. And like, that's the kind of stuff. Isn't that cool? Like, I think a lot of people are going to experience new worlds tonight because of what we talked about. That's the spirit. That's the spirit, right?
Yes. Yeah. You want to say it's great to think that people watch this hopefully later and even now, or anybody in this chat is going to say, you know what, I hadn't heard of, what was that? The Poppy, what was it most recent one here? The Poppy War, right?
Yeah.
Something like that I right here at the end, something that highly intriguing to me. And so I'm going to go check that out, and I could get into something, immerse myself in another great story. It's another life you can live, my friend. It's another life that you can go live and maybe many lives inside the same series. It's awesome.
Hey, I have trouble sleeping. I've always been a hard sleeper. I battled insomnia because I worked night shift for many, many years.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things to fall asleep is I say, all right, I'm in the Shire. I close my eyes. I go, I'm in the Shire.
Let's go.
I'm walking around. I might go get a mug of ale. Who knows?
Yes. Down at the Green Dragon.
Might go down the Green Dragon.
Let's go.
Boys, dance on some tables. I say, what would I look like 2 feet tall? And then bam, I'm asleep.
There you go. You're done.
Someone said, would you recommend reading Malice? I could not recommend a series much more than reading Malice and Faithful in the Fallen. I think John Gwynn is a very special author. I think he has found the balance between breakneck pace and some world-class characterization that you're not going to find on any other page than John Gwynn. So yeah, I definitely recommend Malice. And I do think that the series gets better after Malice. So if Malice isn't certainly your cup of tea, Valor on through is pretty much 5 stars for me. So
yeah.
Which Hobbit family would you be from, Ez?
Which Hobbit family?
Which Hobbit family?
Good Lord. I've always liked the Tooks. I've always felt that Tooks. Yeah, that adventurous side. I like being a Baggins. Baggins ain't too bad.
I heard they got some money.
They got some money, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I don't know. That's there's a lot of them to pick from, actually. You got to go through the, got to think about that for a second. Some of them we don't know too much about.
The Brandy Bucks? Is it Brandy Bucks?
Brandy Bucks. Yeah. You've got Rose Cotton, right? You've got Farmer Cotton and Farmer Maggot. You got Farmer and him as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the Shire, they could do just a show in the Shire like Real Housewives, but it's just Real Hobbit.
Yeah.
And I would watch that show.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. That would be sick. That would be sick.
It really
definitely
would.
I'm definitely not an SB though. I'm definitely not a Sackville Bagginses. I'm just
we don't
mess
with them.
No. So
those are the traders. So if you had to say, what do you think is scooting at the top of your number 1 spot in your TBR?
Honestly, if I've narrowed it down to 2 things, I'm gonna narrow it down to 2 things, which is
all right.
The Tad Williams, Memory, Sorrow, Thorn. Yep. That's right there. That's sticking in my mind real clear. And then Stormlight.
All right.
Stormlight was already real heavy on my mind.
Yeah.
But the more I hear about Tad Williams, I know I can blitz through something pretty quick. And so I might just actually give that a go just because it's complete and I can do it. And I want the satisfaction of just something enjoyable to get through the end of the school year, just to kind of as the drives to work, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten pretty far ahead in Wheel of Time and I've done quite a few read-throughs of A Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire. And so I'm doing fine there. I think it is time to maybe try something like that. And then, see how that goes and then go to Stormlight.
Yeah, I mean, if you read Memories Are in Thorn, you're really going to fill in a gap of, you know Tolkien. Like you're probably the biggest Tolkien expert I know. And then you're an expert with The Song of Ice and Fire. And the missing piece there is Memories Are in Thorn. And I could see really enjoying it. I think you can make a lot of content out of it, which I would love to see. And you're also going to have if you go audiobook with it, I would really recommend reading on paper or Kindle or whatever, because some of the names are crazy. But once you get a foot into the series, dude, the audiobooks are fantastic. I tell most people to do audiobooks. If you want to do any audio, do it for book 2 and 3. So you already have an establishment with the characters.
Sure.
But the audiobooks are fantastic.
Okay.
Tremendous.
Okay.
So
wow.
I would love to see what you think of Miriam, Mel, and Simon. Those are and Benedict. I mean, there's so many good characters. There's so many good. Miriam Mel is one of the best.
Okay.
Lady Adrian says you're gonna love Tad Williams.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna have to change my. I kind of fired up some like Ser Ezra the Watchful channel. I'm gonna have to change that to like Ser Ezra, reading theme.
The Readful.
The Readful. I don't. That, someone help me in the chat. Come up with a good name.
Yeah. What should Ser Ezra name his reading channel?
Because man,
question.
But yeah, I don't know. I love that. I really. I think I am leaning towards that series and maybe just diving into it and going for it. I'll say this just for full disclosure. I have read the prologue and the first tidbit of Stormlight leading. There's a guy about to attempt some type of, I don't know if I can say this or not.
Good.
First chapter.
Yeah, go ahead.
Assassination of some kind.
Yes.
Something's going down. And I got right there and I just thought, I'm interested. My interest was piqued, and I said, "Do you have the time to commit to this? Because, like, get all your stuff done." I had a couple mini projects I was working. I said, "Get all your stuff done because I know me, and I will just dive in.
You'll go
like a crazy man."
Yeah.
It'll be days, man. I'll be walking around here. You'll see me on Bend the Knee. We'll be doing the podcast, and Sir Matt will be talking. He'll be like, Ez, go ahead. Ez, and I'll be like, oh, hold on one second. Let me just get through. I mean, it's an obsession. I have a problem.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with any series that you pick. And one of the good names that someone came up with is Ezra the Well-Read.
Wow. Okay. I like that. I'm gonna have to earn that name though. I'm gonna have to really,
A Pattern of Shadow Light. I heard is very good. It's supposed to be epic. Yeah, I heard that. Say, anyone say Jade City? No, but that final book is coming out and it's being adapted, so that's going to be an interesting one. I think it's called the Green Bone Saga is the actual series name, but it's a Asian-inspired mob fantasy, like Mob Family, like the Yakuza. Pretty neat. Yeah, Green Bone Saga.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, reading is a good obsession to have. That is true. That is absolutely true. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your Friday night, Ezra. I know you got White Claws in the cooler ready to go.
I got one ready to crack open right after the show, my friend. So,
and if we're being honest, I mean, you got some pages to turn.
You're right. I do. You're right. I'm actually going to pull up Audible here in a second and start to I got 4 credits waiting for me right now.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I load them up. Up, man. Yeah. Well, Ezra, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. Everyone, Ser Ezra is one of my favorite content creators. Go check out Bend the Knee here on YouTube. They're so close to 1,000 subs. They have millions of downloads on their podcast. They're trying to make a footprint here in the YouTube land. Also, Heroes of the Horn and Hyperspace. Hang on. Hyperspace is a Star Wars. Heroes of the Horn is Wheel of Time. Their Wheel of Time read along is basically making the series for me. So I really think you guys would like the dynamic between him and Sir Matt. I'm going to have Ser Ezra back on. We're going to be talking about what he read, and we're going to be talking about the progress and how he's liking it. And I'm going to have Sir Matt and Ser Ez on to do a Wheel of Time discussion talk that I think is going to be really nice for first readers, as me and Matt are now just trying to get through the series for the first time. Bend the Knee was in the chat there. Thank you guys. You guys and gals have been amazing. Yes, you all have been. So click on that Bend the Knee thing right there and hit them with a sub. It would be awesome. And Heroes of the Horn as well. But Ez, thank you. Really.
Hey, thank you, man. This has been so much fun. And I just want to say all the comments have been well received, and sincerely, it's not just we're not just doing this. I legitimately am going to pick a book series.
That's right.
And I am going to read said book series. So this has been a lot of fun because I knew I wanted to do this, and it's been so many good friends pitch different things. I kind of needed a final and I'm at 2 now. And I think, this has been fun. You've been so gracious, man. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing here. And we tell folks all the time on Bend the Knee Heroes, our good friend Jimmy, go check out the Fantasy Network. I love this channel. It's fantastic, man.
I appreciate it. And we have some people saying the discussion between you guys was great. So I guess we'll have to do it again, right?
Absolutely.
And I hope everyone watching, I hope I sincerely thank you. I don't do this for money or anything like that. I don't care about any of that. I literally just want to talk fantasy. I want to talk fantasy and I want to talk books. I want to hear what gets people fired up. I think that we have such an amazing opportunity with these worlds that we get to escape to, and to not only learn about ourselves, but each other, and to make friends. And Ser Ezra and Sir Matt have become 2 of my best friends. And I'm so thankful for that. So there's real positive benefits for being a part of a community such as this. So I couldn't have that without all of you that watched. And I feel very humble. I feel very humble that people would want to tune in to hear me run my mouth about books. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And I look forward to having Ser Ezra back on. Go ahead and hit like on this. It does help me out, and we can grow the community a bit. And hit subscribe if you haven't. I think everyone here is probably subscribed. And I will have an Emberblade review out on Sunday by Stephen Kelleher, which is a very unique series, and some series that is teaching me something about myself. So I hope you'll enjoy that. And again, just thank you all so much. Until I talk to you next time, for me and Ser Ezra, I'll be signing off, and I hope you're good. I hope you're healthy. And remember to always keep turning the page.